Hey, kids. You're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
Prepare for the SML Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. It is the final show before our VGM Con break, which means I get to take a week off from all the crazies I deal with on a daily basis, like Aki.
Hi, guys.
How are you, Aki?
I'm pretty good. I built Gunpla today, and that makes me happy. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, the rest of the crew is going to be here later on. But for now, we are kicking the show off with Benni from ByteRockers Games. Benni, how are you doing?
Yeah, fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome to the show. It's a thrill to have you on. You just put out the game BeatSlayer. For the people who don't know what this game is, give us the sales pitch. What is BeatSlayer?
BeatSlayer is a hack and slash roguelike rhythm game. When I break it in one sentence, but I describe it a little bit more. You need to take every action in the game on beat. So you're dashing on the beat and you're smashing the robots on the beat, and it's like a mixture of Hades meets Hi-Fi Rush meets Bullets per Minute, like these kind of games. And yeah, the game takes stage in Berlin, and you need to, like a dungeon crawler, you need to get into the city and turn robots into scrap metal. Yeah.
Very cool. You mentioned...
Almost like your computer.
Oh, Aki. Yeah, I'm sure no one missed the last episode that we talked about this, but this is our second go-around with Benni, and we're glad that he is back on the show. Thanks, Aki, for rubbing salt in the wound.
So welcome.
I was going to try bringing it in later, and you're like, right off the bat, we're going to make fun of you, Joe.
Yep. It's me. Did you really expect anything less? Come on now.
That is true. I don't expect anything from you, and I'm disappointed all the time anyway. You mentioned Hi-Fi Rush and Hades, too. Are those influences in the development of the game, or are those just good comparisons to what the game is now?
We drew some inspirations of both games, and a lot other titles like BPM, Hextech Mayhem from this White publishing thing, Rhythm Doctor, or Grip of a Necrodancer, for example.
Necrodancer, so good.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday at the GameStime Quick channel, some speedruns. It was really fun. Hopefully, in some time in the future, I will see some BeatSlayer speedruns as well. Yeah, but we drew a lot of inspiration from these games because we want to make a kind of a smaller version of Hades, but with this rhythm aspect, because rhythm games are quite niche, but we love them. So we want to make a funny action rhythm game, because you don't have much action games. I mean, in the last year you have Soundfall, you have Metal Hellsinger, but not actually a dungeon crawler like in the isometric perspective. Yeah. So we saw our opportunity there.
It's a really cool mixture of genres. You mentioned that rhythm games are kind of niche. I do want to say I love my rhythm games. I've been playing rhythm games for a long time. Do you have any favorites?
I was quite addicted to Crypt of the Necrodancer. But I think my favorite rhythm game, it's Ozo. Ozo? I don't know if you know it.
I'm not familiar with that one, no.
It's a really a straight high score rhythm game on PC where you can play on anime openings and a lot of Japanese music, and it's a really hard, easy to learn, hard to master rhythm game.
How is it spelled?
OSU.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's similar to the Owen Dunn and Elite Beat Agents on the DS, correct?
Yeah.
Ah, all right. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, but I've never seen the PC version. That's cool. I'm more of a Rock Band, Guitar Hero kind of guy myself. I've been playing those for 15 years now. Oh my god. I've been playing Rock Band a long ass time, apparently. Dating back a little further, are you familiar with the game Guitaru Man on the PS2?
No, I just know Guitar Hero and Rocksmith, but not this one.
If you're looking for a fun rhythm game, check out Guitaru Man, Gitaroo. Really cool rhythm game. I think if you're a fan of rhythm games, you would enjoy this. But BeatSlayer is more of an action game, a lot of rhythm game elements, a lot of roguelike elements. What's the story behind the game? It's set in Berlin?
Yeah, the game takes stage in Berlin in a 90s version of the city. And we are after the wall came down, and the protagonist, it's Mia, our crazy and tough tinker lady, and her brother was took away from Dietrich, our big bad evil guy. So we don't know why, but we know that he is at the TV tower in Berlin. So Mia takes her Tanzrausch tape and goes into the city to rescue her brother.
And hijinks ensue. What made you guys want to go with a roguelike procedure to the game?
It was a little bit of a combination of good and bad stuff at the same time. Our game before from this team was Insurmountable. It was a strategic roguelike. So we had some expertise, or we learned some things about developing a roguelike. So that was one big point, and we was in the development of BeatSlayer, and at first it was planned as a linear story game with the same procedure. But then Hi-Fi Rush came out, and that's also a very linear story game, and we know that we cannot compete versus a AAA Bethesda Microsoft game. So we thinking a bit, and at the end we decided to stay in our roots and our learning stuff and proven things at the end. And so we from this point on we developed BeatSlayer as a roguelike. Yeah.
Very cool. It's cool that Hi-Fi Rush had an impact on the game, especially because that game came out of nowhere and it just seemed to blow people away.
It was a shadow drop, and it was a huge success. It breaks up the niche of rhythm games, because we thought that rhythm games are quite niche and a lot of people will not see it. But then Hi-Fi Rush show us how good rhythm game can compete in the casual in a casual meta, I think. how I can describe it.
Hey, I'm of the mindset that it doesn't matter what genre a game is. If a game is good, a game is good. And Hi-Fi Rush just happened to be a rhythm game that's really fucking good.
Yes.
Speaking of fuck Dietrich, right?
Yeah. I mean, our big bad evil guy.
I want to give a quick shout out to your PR company for sending us a USB drive in a cassette case that just says "fuck Dietrich" on it, and I have that proudly set on my shelf. That's one of the coolest swag pieces I've ever gotten from a game company. So shout out to your PR team.
Yeah, I mean, that's me and my colleagues. And my boss. My boss got the idea of have a USB drive as a cassette. And our first idea was actually a vinyl, like the old music plate. I don't know what it's talking in English. Like a
vinyl record, yeah.
Yeah, vinyl record, yeah. And but then we want something what you can use, what everyone can use, and not need a vinyl record player. So at the end, it was a USB cassette. Yeah.
Well, it is very awesome, and thank you for treating influencers like me and who normally don't amount to anything. You make us feel special, so thank you.
Perfect. No problem.
Aki, what are your thoughts on the game? You've spent some time with the game. What kind of questions do you have?
Oh, first off, really like the game. Really fun. Came across some issues with the game that you already know about, and there's a fix on the way, I assume, or has it already been put out? Or
yes. The fix is on the way.
Okay. Do you have any idea about how long that's going to take to be put out, or is that still who knows?
I know that we will talk tomorrow about the next updates and the patch. And so I think it doesn't need a long time for setting up. So I think hopefully next week. But don't judge me if I don't know it exactly. So
Awesome! I can't wait because I've held off on playing it again just to make sure I didn't end up getting into it and then corrupting my save again. So I've been holding off. I'm just like, has it been patched? No. Okay, we'll try tomorrow. Has it been patched? No. Okay, try again tomorrow. And that's like been an almost daily thing for me. It's just to check just on that off chance that maybe it was super fast and already done. And I was like, so I really want to get back into it.
Aki, are you getting that itch to get back in and play more?
Yes, I've had that itch since I stopped playing. I really like the game. It's really fun, especially if you get the right upgrades. Which are the fire ones. Just no, you don't need any other upgrade. Just get the fire ones. They're the right ones to get. Use that in the hammer, and you're a god at that point.
Turn Mia into a little fire devil.
Just a little bit of a firebug, and everything works so much better that way.
What are some of your favorite power-ups in the game?
What? What did you say?
What are some of your favorite power-ups in the game?
I'm more the defensive kind of person, so I took a lot of the shield upgrades to mitigate some damage, and I'm more the cautious player, so I dashing around with a good safety distance, and after I know exactly what the robots can do, I will strike.
If I was a smarter person, I would probably play that way, because whilst I love being the firebug, I've still yet to beat the snake, I think is what it's called, even though it's a flying machine. I got stuck there, and I got there like 4 or 5 times, and I could not beat it. I got real close the first time, because I had great upgrades, and then after that, I did, we'll say, not as well. So
yeah, I mean,
maybe I should start doing shields a little more.
Yeah, a good mixture of fire and shields are very good, because the biggest downside on shield upgrades is that you didn't get enough damage, so you need to endure a lot of long fights. And with some damage upgrades from the fire tree, you can erase this downside and hopefully you will beat the Snake Dungeon and don't corrupt your save file again.
Hopefully. That is the plan, yes. I really
Adi, I'm so proud of you. You are so good at just finding all the bugs in games.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
It's a gift, we'll call it.
it's a gift.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that
Shrug.
through clenched teeth at all. No.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with it.
Yeah, it's the best fucking thing in the world. Yeah. Doesn't infuriate me at all. It's not that I've lost, over 1,000 hours worth of multiple different games in my lifetime through bugs. Totally, no, never. But I've really liked Mia. Every time she's talking with people, or even when she's just having her little solo animations from just leaving her sitting in a place for long enough, half the stuff she says is so funny or so cute. Like, I love when she starts talking about how she's gonna beat people up, and she's like, and then uppercut, and it's just like, yes, that's hilarious. I absolutely love the conversation she has with herself and with everybody else. There's so many references to other things in all the conversations, and it is so fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have a couple somewhat pressing questions for you. One is there going to be any sort of DLC, any DLC weapons, songs, new story, anything like that in the works or idea planning stages or anything?
We after the release we just wait a little bit, collecting some thoughts of the community. We have a Discord, and we highly appreciate people like you telling us about bugs in the game, so we can fix them as soon as possible. And but it's not decided yet if we make a DLC or some new content, like a new weapon or some new enemies. But we will see in the future if we do something like that. But first of all, we want to make to stabilize the build, to polish the build, and erasing all bugs when they occur. So that's our first priority now, and after that we will think about potential upgrades, hopefully, or some porting on the consoles, for example.
I was just gonna ask about that. You're a mind reader, Benny. I was just gonna ask if could we see this on console? Do you guys have dev kits? Is that something that's been talked about?
As a developer, we have dev kits we also porting our last game, Insurmountable, which comes out I think next week. The ports on the different consoles. So and for BeatSlayer, we also prepared we considered the porting in our development, so we are quite ready for it, but the final words are not finally spoken yet.
Nice. I had a question that is going to only pertain to PC players, even when this gets a console release. But when you start the game, it pops up with to start the game with as normal or with Vulkan API. What are those? I don't know what any of that stuff means. What should people be choosing between those two, and what's the difference between them?
Vulkan is another graphic engine like DirectX, so you can choose if Vulkan can help you to run the game smoother, or you should stay on the standard one. So we want some PC players have preferences, so we want to give them the opportunity to choose which graphic engine they want to use.
Okay. Interesting. Is there a difference of stability between the two different versions, or do they both have about the same bugs in them, or are bugs only shown in one version of it, not in another one, or?
I mean, it can happen. So if we occur a bug on Discord, we also ask if they start the game on Vulkan or on the standard version. But it's mostly Vulkan have some performance, some better performance sometimes. So at the end, it's not a big of a deal, but we want to give the players the opportunity to choose which one they want to play.
Okay, awesome. I didn't know any of that, and I've been on the PC gaming for like a decade. So yay! I learned something new.
I mean, I learned it on the harder way, because I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, and they have also the options to choose between Vulkan and DirectX.
Mm-hmm.
And on DirectX, the game crashed, and it crashed a lot. And I don't know why, and I searching for some solutions, and at the end they just say, switch to Vulkan. And I did, and so now I can play it.
It's like magic. Hey, if it just works, it works, right?
Hey, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Speaking about picking things, is there any chance in the future to have a customizable soundtrack, either through DLC soundtracks or importing music? Is that something that's possible?
I sorry, but I need to say no, because we play the music in BeatSlayer. It's perfectly balanced with the game. So it's a Berlin game, and Berlin has a big techno scene and a lot of discos or clubs, and especially in this time, what's something like the born time of this scene. We aim to create a unique music style which covers Berlin perfectly. So we drew a lot of inspiration of the Berlin club scene, and with audio creatures, our helping hands in the music stuff of BeatSlayer, helps us to get a very good soundtrack. And you can also hear the soundtrack on Spotify. You can find it. It's now officially released, and yeah, we have we're working a lot with some local DJs, and also with orchestra for the final sounds of the music, because we want to make a lot of mixture of electronic music and other genres like punk, classic, and for example rock. And so at the end we want to make a lot of value out of this music, and I hope that no one needs your own music to enjoy the game. So
No, I agree that the soundtrack is fantastic. I saw that it's on Bandcamp. Probably going to pick that up over the weekend, so I have something to listen to on my trip. I'm loving the music. I love the 90s vibe to it. I'm a big fan of the 90s techno industrial style music, like Gravity Kills, Stabbing Westward, Psychosonic, stuff like. If it was on the Mortal Kombat soundtrack movie, like that was my shit back in the day. I love that music. So I'm absolutely digging the soundtrack. What?
You're so old.
Shut up. Just because I'm old doesn't mean I'm. Yeah, it does mean I'm old. I know you draw inspirations from Necrodancer. Could we see something that Necrodancer's done where they have alternate soundtracks? It's basically the same songs just performed by someone new, and how Danny B did the Crypt soundtrack, but then like Bert did a version, Family Jewels did a version, A Rival did a version. and those are all downloadable in the game. Is that something possible that we could see?
I mean, we will hopefully. I mean, maybe we talk with some Berlin resident DJs or some producers here in town, and maybe we get some special versions from them. But at the end, for the game, especially for the playing part of the game, the music has a lot of rules because we need to establish a good soundtrack where you can feel every beat, so you don't get into trouble, because the music is a big the tool for making this game a good rhythm game, because you need to hear every time the rhythm of the game, every beat, and also with our special stance, the Tanzrausch, we need to make the sound one step above, one step higher, more powerful sounds in this stage. So these rulings was especially hard to establish at first, and also to get a lot of differences and a lot of mixture in it, because at the end it's a 4 on the floor beat, and all after 10 hours you will get brainwashed by Dietrich and not Mia. So we want it's a hard question, and I have not the perfect answer for it. So
I don't know if my microphone's picking something up, but it sounds like there's a rocket going over my house right now.
Oh shit!
Oh, jeez.
Like I thought
planes.
the cats were hissing, and then it's just like, what the frig is that? I think it's going to. Hopefully, my town's not under attack. That would suck. Oh man. So, what are some games that you're playing these days when you're not working on BeatSlayer? What are you enjoying?
I'm more the hardcore kind of player. Like sometimes I play Uso, like I said, and I mean I played a lot of Path of Exile and some competitive games like League of Legends or Apex Legends, some shooter also. But I'm more the kind of person who needs to can deep dive into theory of games. Like a lot of I've played a lot of Path of Exile and learn a lot of in theory about the game, because it's very hardcore grinding game at the end. So that's my vibe at the end of a hard working day. To work more harder in the game to grinding.
Are there any games coming up in the future that you have your eyes on that you're excited about?
I'm really excited about Silk Song. I want to see the prequel or the sequel. I don't know which one. From Hollow Knight. I'm a big fan of.
Let's do some speculation. As of the day we're recording this, tomorrow Nintendo's going to do an indie showcase. Do you think we're going to see Silk Song?
No.
I mean, I hope.
Because I'm hoping we see it. It's like it's about time, right?
I mean, the rumors are getting closer and closer.
The rumors are always closer.
That's the point. You think the rumors getting closer, but they're 30 miles away. So
yeah, even after they announce it, I won't believe they will have announced it yet. That is how far off I believe
I'll
this
be
is.
sitting in my living room playing, and I'll be like, bullshit, this ain't coming out. I don't believe them.
Exactly.
Something that is out, though, is BeatSlayer, and it is awesome. Tell us about the hub world and all the cool people you get to interact with.
yeah, I mean, you will start the game and you're getting we drop you in a cold water. You need to learn the game in the first try for yourself. You have some limitations. You have just the normal auto attack or not an auto attack, but a normal attack and the dash, and you need to get so far you can possibly go. But I think you will die at the first boss at the end, hopefully. And after that, you will get back into your base. It's a underground club. It was an underground club, but now it's your base with you and your crew. I mean, you will meet a lot of different characters in this base. Like, for example, our wise DJ Pokke. It's a old guy have some funky rhymes. He gives some advices, and he is the inventor of the Tanzbusch tape. It's the tape you needed to getting the waves, the brainwashing waves of Dietrich away. So he's one big part of the crew, but you can also meet our robot body. He loves to get hit. It's kind of weird sometimes, but also
he's
funny.
a little masochist. I love him.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, and my favorite character in the game, it's Joe. It's our barkeeper. I mean, we dubbed the game, and in the German version of the game, he has a really big German Berlin accent. So it's really funny for German speakers to hear Joe. And he's also very funny sometimes, and building you up after a big defeat, and also give you some very special juices with some motor oil in it, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know how healthy those drinks are.
Super healthy. I drink. She drinks them all the time, at least for me.
And super helpful for your runs, because they give you some bony, sometimes some drawbacks, but we will not talk about it, please.
Like those medication commercials you see on TV. It's like side effects may include nausea, headaches, vomiting, diarrhea.
I think one of my favorites is Donna. At least I'm pretty sure that was her name, right?
Yeah, Donna, our ex-dancing queen.
Yeah,
Yes.
that Donna is the one that Pernell was asking to be a playable character someday.
I can understand. I mean, she is the train the people. Mia learned a lot from her. You will get the roguelite upgrades from her, like more health at the start of your run, or some revives in the run, so you get tougher. You can make more damage with her training. So in the end, she is one of the most valuable parts of the crew, because she will let Mia grow stronger, and hopefully the player, I mean, you potentially, will also grow and building up some rhythm strength. So at the end, you have these both pillars of progression, and if you're getting high enough, you will fuck Dietrich, hopefully, in a destroyable way.
Yeah, with a 2x4. With a 2x4.
Beat the shit out of him.
one.
Fuck him so hard. Like, really? That's what this. That's what the title of the game should have been. But I guess that doesn't sell that well.
BeatSlayer, create your
I would've
symphony of destruction and fuck Dietrich.
Yes.
I would have loved that personally, but I'm just one of those types of people.
You, Aki? No.
Yeah, no, totally not me. No,
That's shocking.
never. I know, right? Not the most foul-mouthed person here. No, totally. No.
No, not you at all. So, Benni, I know we've been chatting a while. Is there anything you wanted to talk about the game that we didn't bring up?
Oh, we talk a lot of BeatSlayer. I really enjoy it, and it was really fun. I mean, you can buy it on Steam. if we not already say it. It's on PC only at this time. We don't know if it's potentially on some consoles later. But what I forget to mention, it's also on playable on Steam Deck. So if you need a handheld console, you can play it on the Steam Deck. And if you and one other thing is we have also a demo on Steam. So if you don't know if you're a big rhythm enjoyer, so you can play the first act until the mole boss as a demo on Steam, and then after you're buying it, you can straight continue your one.
Very good. More companies need playable demos. Like, I miss the day, like 360 days, every game had a demo. It was required. Like, everything had to have a demo. Then the Xbox One came along, and you could do a demo if you want. Now, there's no demos.
And I mean, the hype is coming back. So we saw on Steam, we have a lot of demos. We have also the Steam Next Fests. Where you can play a lot of upcoming demos of games of upcoming demos. No, demos of upcoming games. So no, I haven't.
I know ID at Xbox does a similar event every now and then where they have a bunch of demos available. That's a good team you could get in touch with if you're looking at getting the console. ID at Xbox team. They're helpful.
Yeah, it gives me some hope for the future. Yeah.
I'll keep my fingers crossed. We love our Xboxes on SML, so if I could play BeatSlayer on Xbox, I would be super duper happy.
Never say never.
Oh man, well, we are going to wrap this up. We have a lot more show that we got to take care of. Benni, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. It has been an absolute pleasure. Again, sorry about the first time. This one, everything is working great. Everything looks good. One more time, tell us about what the game is, where we can get it, where can people keep up to date with you and the company. Give us all the information.
Okay, BeatSlayer, hack and slash roguelike, now on Steam for $20. You have a demo on Steam if you want to try it out, and if you want to get in touch with us, you can join our Discord or follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, or X. Now
it's Twitter.
X.
I don't call it. I don't call it.
It's Twitter. Yeah,
it is.
If you want to see some hilarious things about us playing BeatSlayer, or just follow us on social media. Yeah.
All right.
At the end, thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone stick around. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with more show. Aki, stick around. I know you'll be here. You got shit to do. Benni, do you have any final words to end the interview?
No. Thank you very much.
did you guys try that? I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the WcDonald's sauce because they did that anime campaign.
I did not. We couldn't
sweet
get any
chili
because
sauce.
everyone wanted it.
Good. My place had it. It was pretty good. I still like barbecue. You know, that's what I've been eating since I was a kid. So it's like the comforts of home to me. But I thought it was really good. I don't like a lot of their like limited edition sauces, but I thought this was cool. You know, I had to roll up in there and get like a bag with the anime characters on it. That's just like targeted content to me. It's not even fair. What a cool campaign.
Did you put it on your wall?
No, but I will.
I remember years ago I had a bag on our wall from the store Game Crazy. Do you remember that one?
I haven't
I
heard
remember
of
that place.
That was the game side of Hollywood Video.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Had Game Crazy as their game division, and I had friends who worked there, and when they shut down, like, our friends gave us signs and, and bags and a bunch of shit, and we just held on to a bag. We also have a bathroom sign from our Blockbuster.
I'm jealous. I really want a Taco Bell sign. Taco Bell was my one of my first jobs in high school. I was a close to the heart. It's Pernell.
Burp, 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 indeed. How are you doing, buddy?
We're good.
Hi.
I was gonna say we have buttons for that.
I like to do the manual air horn. So stupid.
I can
Get that homemade feel.
Pernell too.
fucking yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Pernell.
Oh yeah.
Barbecue sauce all over my titties.
Wow. I asked for that one. I'm the one talking about barbecue sauce over here. Man, Hollywood Video. Hollywood Video brings me back.
Hollywood Video, where'd that come in?
Right before you joined, we were talking a little bit about it. One of my friends in high school, she worked at Hollywood Video, so I just hung out there all the time. You remember back in the day, your friend would have a job and you just hang out there all night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for me it was the mall food court. We hung out at Mrs. Fields Cookies, a store called Hot Dogs, etc. We never figured out what the etc. was. It was probably Soylent Green. But we spent a lot of time doing that, and it got to the point where like it went from where mall security hated us to where they was like, well, that's what these guys do. They're here all the time. Just kind of ignore them and they'll go away when we close or whatever. But I have fond memories of that kind of stuff. But I have wonder now, hanging out at Hollywood Video, about the food court, we used to, sometimes pop into the arcade. We would grab food at different stalls, sit at the food court tables. What would you do at Hollywood Video?
You just kind of loiter.
Yeah, just loiter and like stand near where she needed to be, and we just hang out.
Look at the backs of movies constantly.
Mm-hmm.
See what 4 still frames are on the back of this movie.
And that makes sense because the video game stores. I worked at a toy store, and I had other friends who worked at like the electronics boutique of the world at our mall. And we each went to hang out in our respective locations. So the toy store crew, when they hung out in there, they would just pick up random toys and packs of cards that they weren't allowed to open and just like loiter. Yeah, let me see that game in the glass case so I can just stare at it and not buy it. And then we would go to the video game store and stare at the games behind the glass case and ask to see them and not buy them, except I would buy them because I'm crazy. And we would also just kind of be annoying. Like, I think one of my favorite memories of that was back when I got into Guitar Freaks when it was still like mostly a Japan thing. Though it's kind of still a Japan thing. And it was like right before it was before Guitar Hero had even come out. And I just lugged my Japanese PlayStation 2 and my copy of Guitar Freak and my Guitar Freaks controller to the Concord Mall and just set it up on one of their demo stations. We're playing Guitar Freaks. People are like, oh, what's this game? I was like, it's awesome. Guitar Freaks. But I pre-orders like, you can't buy it in America. Push my glasses up and all that dumb shit. But it was just a lot of fun to be able to do random July. Like, look at us play these weird Japanese games at the local electronics store. So fun.
Guitar Freaks was such a thing because it was like just this little space of time between, when just the super nerds knew about guitar controller games and when it was just like everywhere as soon as Guitar Hero came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like
okay.
Oh, no, I was just going to say beforehand, it was like, wow, guitar controller. And nowadays it's like, what, 3 buttons?
And the thing that sucked was that coming from Guitar Freaks to, Guitar Hero, it was just seeing like, okay, on one hand, I much preferred the Japanese soundtrack to the Guitar Freeze games because I was always like, I don't know any of the songs in these games. So everything feels new. You get a game, it's like you're going to hear maybe 50 new songs. What are the great ones? What are the bad ones? And then you buy Guitar Hero and you're like, well, I know most of these songs. They're just selling them to me because they already know I like them. So they were fun, but they didn't feel new, you know? Not in the same way, at least. But then by that same token, I preferred the Guitar Hero controller because it actually used all 5 buttons on a Red Octane controller, whereas Guitar Freaks was using Red Octane controllers when you got them, purchased, and they always had 5 buttons, but Guitar Freaks only used 3 of them.
Yeah.
Where are we going to use these extra buttons? And then Guitar Hero came out. So, nerd history from Pernell and Chris.
I mean, I figure the DLC, at least in the newer games, the DLC is where you find all the unknown stuff. Like the stuff you're like, let me take a risk on this. Let me listen to a preview. This sounds interesting. Let me drop $2 on. I found out a lot of bands through Rock Band that I wouldn't have picked up on any other way.
This is where I'll ask a question because you stuck with their DLC for a long time, whereas I fell off when I didn't get people to play my Rock Band.
I stuck with their DLC the whole time.
Oh, yes, you did. Do you feel as though their official DLC, even in the later years, ever compared to what you got on Rock Band Network? As far as like how just random the music would be.
I think normal DLC they tried to keep it more mainstream and at least stuff that you might have heard of, where Rock Band Network was just the Wild West.
Yes, it was. There
was
a song called Nancy Drew. I was like, there's a song named after that character from the books I used to like. I'll buy that.
Thing is, Rock Band Network was all user created. That's the reason why when they brought Rock Band Network songs to Rock Band 4, they had to relicense them and resell them because they were all user done. Yeah.
That makes sense. And also probably explains why some of the charts just weren't as good as official charts.
Oh my god.
But it was part of the risk you took.
It was all community tested, community play tested. I was a play tester for a while. It was a pain in the ass because my computer was on a different floor from my Xbox, and you had to load a file on the computer. Then I had to run downstairs to my system, play the game one time, run back upstairs, fill out a survey on the songs. It was kind of annoying, but it was fun.
Keep in shape, though.
No, it didn't.
I know. kept you strong and sturdy.
Theoretically, though, I guess.
Yeah. I guess all this is recording. I don't know what I'm going to keep in the show. Welcome back, everyone.
Keep all of it, man. It's quality.
But I need a welcome back section, but I guess I'm not going to have that because we did an interview. But
3, 2, 1, welcome back.
Yeah, but then I would have to get rid of all the other stuff.
3, 2, 1, you're still here.
How's everyone doing?
Who started?
I just ate a double cheeseburger. Hey, it's on.
How was your burger?
I did it. It was okay. It's pretty good.
Gotta ask you, what is the one like uncommon or unconventional condiment you'd say you like putting on burgers?
Ooh, well, I mean, I have my trusty bottle of Whataburger spicy ketchup here, even though it's McDonald's food, because I don't have Whataburgers out here, so I literally get these online. I don't think that's really non-conventional. I don't know, man. I could be in the mood for anything, just some yellow mustard. I like ranch.
I feel like it counts as unconventional. I mean, I've only been seen a Whataburger one time, and that was in California, just randomly there. And honestly, I might be confusing it for another burger because of how long it's been. But I'm positive it was Whataburger. So it was one that I want to say. Well, I've been there, and I will say, once you've been there, you're like, it's good. But the hype the internet gave it was a little bit excessive once you got past the secret menu stuff. It was like, I want the land, sea, and air burger. You're like, okay, look it up. And
it's like getting a meat mountain at Arby's.
Oh, what? I worked at Arby's briefly. That was another fast food job I had.
You didn't know about the meat mountain at Arby's?
I did not. When did that come out? I was working there in like 2006, 2007.
It should have been there. I don't know if it was ever an official item. I've seen signs for it in stores before. I don't know how officially they've handled it, but it's basically every meat on a bun. One of everything, including a chicken tender.
You're probably better off for not knowing it because you had to get a brand for them to tell you the secret.
Yeah, back before money exploded, it was like $10 for just the sandwich. I imagine it's like $40 for just a sandwich now.
Ooh, wow.
He's smoky. I'd eat it, but so random.
Bree, how are you doing? You've been quiet.
I'm doing all right, I guess. Just sitting here digesting my dinner, listening to conversation.
What was your dinner?
I had some leftovers from a medieval feast.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's one of I got to actually eat at the feast this time. And so I had some leftover risotto and some mushroom compote is the best way to describe it. It's like a whole lot of mushrooms and some garlic kale and some really nice seasoned pork. So,
but did your champion win?
What?
But did your champion win?
Talking about medieval times.
No, I didn't do anything like that. I actually went and watched a play. They did Shakespeare, Taming of the Shrew, as part of the event.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Hung out with friends. It was good times.
Cool. Has anybody been to a Ren Fair here? Who's been to a Ren Fair? Not me, surprisingly, but I will one day.
I haven't been to one in like 20 years, but I want to go so bad. We have a Ren Fair in Pennsylvania in the fall.
Cool.
I'm always like, Ashley, we got to go to that this year. And then we don't get to it because it's only open a few weeks.
If we're talking about the same one, I've been to that Pennsylvania Ren Fair once, and I've been to the Crownsville Ren Fair multiple years. So I just like going there and getting everything on a stick. Everything's on a stick. Meat, pickles, sticks. Everything's on a stick. They will take your drink, freeze it, and slap it on a stick and hand it to you.
Ren Fair's taught me the glory of bread bowl pasta.
Oh, I love bread bowls. Oh my gosh. Those are really big out here. Sourdough's really big out here. So you get sourdough bread bowls everywhere.
Also, nothing breaks Ren Fair immersion quite like going in, walking the booth, and then going up to their random weapons. It was like, oh wow, there's various weapons, and there's Cloud's Buster sword right there. I can just buy that right now here at the Ren Fair.
Yeah.
What's the price?
I noticed that when I was briefly in San Francisco that it's like clam chowder and a sourdough bread bowl over there is basically the tacos over here. It's like every place has it. And I'm sure being in Philadelphia, y'all got a certain kind of sandwich that you see everywhere.
No, I'm nowhere near Philly. I'm like 3 hours
tell
north
me more
of Philly.
about Philly. What's this Philly thing now? I'm near Philly.
I was going to say, like, is it not just all over Pennsylvania? Is it just Philadelphia?
The
cheesesteaks?
Yeah.
That's
that's full. No. Let's rewind that, friend. Cheesesteaks are freaking regional at this point. Like, people will come to visit me from out of state, and they always say, oh, we got to go to Philadelphia to get a good cheesesteak, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, first of all, fuck Philly. If you want a good cheesesteak, I've had better cheesesteaks down the street from my house than I've gotten in the entire city of Philadelphia. Not to say there's not a better possible cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Just that I've been to many places, and none of them have topped my locals. So,
see, these are the kind of arguments we would have in Texas about tacos.
Or chili. I guess I always have an argument about chilies.
Chili's a good one too, yeah.
But as a Texan, doesn't it feel good to have someone visit you and be like, we got to go to the heavy hitters for pork and brisket or whatever? You're like, look here, man. The hell with those places. Here are the real ones. Here's the real deal that your friends and the internet aren't going to tell you about.
Yeah, Austin's got the trendy barbecue and the real barbecue. It's definitely how we go over here.
That's an amazing
Texas barbecue, like brisket. I mean, obviously, I love brisket. Named my biological son after him. People out here don't get it. I'm like, oh, they're like, why didn't you name him brisket?
Jacob was your biological son. Wait.
That too. I have more than one.
You can have more than one
very
son.
Much. They're brothers. The brothers. Jacob's my oldest. You know, they really
Jacob's
don't.
Name is Bort.
You know, they might have different dads. One story for another day. But yeah, I'm always telling people, we named him brisket because he has burnt ends because he has like black corners basically, and people don't know what I'm talking about. So I guess like brisket burnt ends aren't like a thing outside of Texas. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I can't even imagine.
Ugh, they're so good. It's just the burnt, crispy part of the brisket that's been slow roasting forever. Black and crunchy. Ugh, so delicious.
Yeah,
my area is weird. We have something called Kielbasa Festival.
I love kielbasa. I ate that before a lot, weirdly.
We have a town-wide festival of like just vendors that set up. They fill the whole streets with like games and crafts, and it's ridiculous. My area of the country is very weird.
And this is your hometown, or is it our neighboring town?
It's like 20 minutes away.
As long as you have some kind of celebrated glistening meat, then
yeah,
that's normal in my book.
My town is known for Wise potato chips.
Oh, I remember those too. Kielbasa and Wise potato chips are like, both of those are really common to eat in Jacksonville, Florida, one of the places I came up. So that's interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't seen Wise potato chips outside of Northeast Florida. Further out west, I like never.
I've seen Wise potato chips.
Wise are made here in Berwick. Oh,
nice. Ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I do like me some Wise potato.
I only see them when I leave Texas.
Dipsy Doodles, hell yeah! Trash Rando knows what's up.
What is Dipsy Doodles?
Like a banging barbecue chips. They're not chips. They're like kind of like
corn chips, tortilla,
corn chips. But I used to get the barbecue ones. That was the ones I was specifically interested in, and they were.
Oh, wow, I've never seen these. Oh, I see. Their Wise brand wavy corn chips. I'm googling this. Very interesting.
They're delicious. That was a corner store staple when I was a child.
Sweet.
You know what else is sweet? The number of games we have to talk about tonight. Should we dive into these? Oh my
god, it's true.
There are so many games we have to talk about, and I am going to be up until like 4 a.m. working on this show, so I think we should get into reviews. What do y'all think?
Let's get some.
Let's do it. For Joe.
Right. First game to talk about tonight is Rose and Camellia Collection, developed by NIGORO and WayForward, published by WayForward, released April 16th on the Switch for $19.99. Slap your way to the top of high society. Grace and glamour give way to open-handed duels across 5 games of aristocratic, I can't do that word, absurdity. Rose and Camellia 1, 2, 3, 4 plus Rose and Camellia versus La Mulana, in which you'll slap, dodge, feint, and counter your way through a series of one-on-one smackdowns. Brooke, tell us about your slapping good time with Rose and Camellia.
I did have a good time, and I know SML always people on SML, they're always talking smack. So that's the difference between y'all and me. Y'all all talk, I actually smack like a grown ass lady, like a grown ass woman of society does. So they'll be coming to me talking about how I shouldn't be slapping people. This is my God-given right as a woman, and I have formal training in this traditional dueling art. It's a traditional dueling art. Okay. Now, y'all want to be sexist, you can say something like, us ladies, we love our period piece media. We love Bridgerton. Otome games are like 95% period pieces. We love to go back in time and have a fantastic dramatic story in times and settings where traditionally women happen to not have nearly as much power or human rights as they enjoy now here in modern reality. Well, in this fantasy anime universe, even back in the day, women have all the power. Noble women, to be precise, because noble women are trained from a young age by their maids in the art of the slap. This makes you, our main character, the underdog in our story, because while you're nobility now, you were just a common woman when you married your husband. He has unfortunately passed away, making you a widow living with his family. And that opened you up to be abused in many ways, emotionally, verbally, especially physically, by your wicked mother-in-law and sisters-in-law, who don't really think the family should ever be yours, no matter if you were married to the firstborn son before he died or not. So this game opens up, you're in a horrible situation, and there's only one way out of this. You have to challenge your noble in-laws to a formal slapping duel, winner take all the family's inheritance, and the status as head of the family as well. Now, you may not have had formal slapping training as a child because you didn't grow up noble, but one of the maids here at the mansion has now taken a shine to you, and she's teaching us how to slap in the tutorial for this game. This game's got 2 different ways to slap. You can use the touch screen of the Switch and swipe across the screen, or you can play with the Joy-Cons and actually swing your arm as if you were slapping someone in reality to slap someone in the game. And let's talk about how slapping works here. The game is all about timing. Slapping works a lot like the hand slapping game of, I want to say chicken in real life, but I didn't fact check myself. You guys know where you kind of put your two palms out and someone else puts their hands on top of your hands and you kind of like pull it out and try to slap their hand or arm?
Oh,
you all know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What is that called? I put hand slapping game of
I
chicken.
thought it was a slap fight.
Slapsies?
Slapsies. Yeah, I think I've heard slapsies. Okay, that makes sense why I couldn't think of the name. 'Cause it seems like we have different regional.
Good lord, there's a ton of names. You want the list?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Red hands, also known as hot hands, slapsies, slapjack, red tomato, Pope slap,
Tomato.
tennis,
Pope slap.
Pope slap, yeah, tennis, slaps, chicken, slappy patties, or simply the hand slap game.
Whoa, that's cool. I'm glad we all know what we're talking about here. And I gotta look up this Pope slap thing because, you know,
Way ahead
that
of
just
you.
shows you. It's such
Way
a
ahead of
shows
you,
you.
Chief.
Who's the hole?
It's not only Atome fans that get weird with the Catholic Church later in the game. Anyway, so y'all know what I'm talking about. So, like, where you and your friend are trying to slap each other's hands, there's basically only one rule. If you get a slap in, you get a point. The only way to avoid being slapped is reading the body language of your opponent and being quicker than them. Sometimes dodging if necessary once they pull out their hands to attempt to slap you. This game also has dodging slaps for when it's your opponent's turn. Counterattacks, those have different options in the touchscreen as well. And they work about how you're imagining it in the standing up with the Joy-Cons way too. You dodge to dodge with your flick of your wrist. You can also flick your wrist if you don't want to get up and stand around. It's a different motion and you're pressing the right or left shoulder button of the Joy-Cons. I tried both ways, and I have to say, this is a great time to talk about accessibility as part of this review. This game has new controls I've never seen or used before in another game, and part of that's because the game is unique, but I also, thank you, I almost never use touchscreens, and I almost never use Joy-Cons. In fact, I only tend to use one of these two things if it's an option when I'm reviewing a game for us, so I can tell y'all if it works or not. I'm a bit biased, clearly. If there's any way I can just use a regular controller, I do, because I'm just most comfy with traditional controls. I know. I share that in common with Joe. So, was I able to learn this? Yeah, easily. I was able to learn both ways to slap. I didn't find it too easy, but I found it really easy to pick up, hard to master, which is always a nice mix. I found the tutorial to be perfect for both ways to play. No complaints. That is a really big deal for me, as y'all know. I'm always harping on the tutorial. Not have any complaints about a tutorial, regardless of brand new mechanics. And to love it. If there was a normal controller function in this game, I would wager touchscreen does work better. The game seems to be built around it. Best of all, if you can't remember exactly how to do something from the tutorial, or you just want to practice it, you can always press pause and enter a tutorial at any time. Even if it's in the middle of the battle, you can pause. You can practice slapping, you can practice dodging. And you'll know that that's something I normally harp on too if I need to restart a tutorial or if I can't access it later once I forget everything within 2 hours of learning it. That's usually a problem for me. This game has me covered there. So I would give this game an exceeds expectations for accessibility and controls. So cool, and I did not see that coming for some weird anime slapping game I'd never even heard of before Joe showed this to me. So, let's go back to the story. Is this game a fun story, or is there not a lot going on here since you're just having slapping battles with a few family members? I found this game to be greatly exceed expectations in the story as well. This game is so funny, it's so high anime drama, and it just works. Why is it so good? Well, it's very self-aware. There's lots of jokes about society, about the game itself, about slapping, about women, about being a woman, about how ridiculous of a premise of this game is, and I feel like the game progresses seamlessly and with so many fun surprises later in the game that I really did not expect. This game took me some wild places. You know, there's only a few women in the Tsubaki Koji family. How long is this game going to take? Is it going to be over insanely fast after we slap 3 women and convince them that we're now the head of the family? No, it will not be over. And whether you're a man or a woman, anime background or not, you're going to be laughing at the classic anime stuff this game does to get where it's going. No spoilers, but there is some Attack on Titan level drama at some points in this game, and there's a big old shift in the soundtrack and sound effects you're not expecting to come with that when the plot thickens as well. We have chanting choruses as we reveal disturbing bosses in our way. I don't want to ruin anything plot-wise, but it's incredibly funny. It's just really, really well written. The mechanics themselves will even slightly change with each opponent, starting from your second opponent. And we just layer on new things we're learning as we practice our muscle memory to get better and better through these levels. And yeah, muscle memory is a thing for this game. You can learn it easily, but if you want to beat bosses or you want to take on some powerful, noble ladies, you're going to have to practice a bit. It's only right if you want to go calling yourself the head of this family. But yeah, new mechanics pop up for us. We may even get special abilities sometimes. I'm like 5 levels into this game before I even get the option to combo out with the slap rush. And then I went and played it again, and I was able to unlock that later. Yo, and the slap rush is bomb. I gotta send you a video clip of that. I took a lot of video clips of this game because I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, sometimes new mechanics will sometimes emerge for our more legendary opponents as well as the game progresses. Suffice to say, remember when Joe said that we would, quote, slap our way to the top of high society, grace and glamour give way to open-handed duels? Well, that was a lie. Not from Joe, from the developers, because turns out not all battles in this game are open-handed, to say the least. Shit gets pretty brutal, bringing me to the next part of this game I want to review, the graphics. Graphics greatly exceed expectations for this game. Joe, I know you visited the store page like I did before we picked this up, and it doesn't seem like it has a lot going on. Well, the store page doesn't even do it justice. I was not expecting much from this game when I saw the page, when I saw the trailer even. Boy, howdy, this game has some cool art with lots of animations and variations of every single character, and the character design just looks better in the game than it does on the cover. I didn't expect this. There's multiple sprites for every character, not just us, but every single opponent. There's lots of opponents. We've got CGs. The sprites of the characters are animated in battle, and they change depending on what happens in the battle. They continue to take more and more damage from your slaps. Lips will slowly be split. Eyes will water. Bruises will form. Goose eggs will rise on cheeks like shiners. Eyes will swell shut. And animations your opponent sprites have on your turn change to show, they're kind of breathing heavy and losing concentration if you're winning. I play a lot of visual novels. I was not expecting anything more than what I normally get in the visual novels where, like, at the most, our animations are blinking sprites. I'm even happy with that because I don't have I'm not really high maintenance in that department because I just love my anime and my VNs. But this game it's actually delivering a lot more than I expected. So all that stuff changes. That's before we get to some of the crazy supernatural anime shit this game is going to do later on too. So yeah, art was a win here for me. Comboed really well with the writing of this game to give a very funny and stylish experience. Sound design was great. Music's really good. UI, another, greatly exceeds expectations for me. Wonderful hidden joke stuff everywhere in the menus. Loved it. They also just look fantastic. The menus were made with care and love. And it has mad style, every single screen of the game. Before we go on to rating here, I do want to talk one more thing this game did amazingly that just, straight up exceeded my expectations. I've never used that phrase on the show before. I've used it like 5 times for this game. Voice acting. Much like 2 different controls in the game, we have at least 2 languages to choose from, and English and Japanese are both voice options. Surprisingly, both are great, and neither is the wrong choice. We have Japanese voice actors, and they do a fantastic job. They're really getting the spirit of this game. This game is so Japanese anime. Oh my god. Aki's familiar with anime. She already knows from just the premise of this game. They're really doing it up. They didn't skimp on the JP casting they had. They came in super hard there. But here's what I wasn't expecting. We have English voice actors too. And I usually say if the game was written, its original content in Japanese, go with the Japanese VAs and audio settings for games almost every time. The casting level is just usually higher. We have like celebrity level voices as opposed to people who just do dubbing over here. It's almost always way better. We can have a TED talk as to why I feel this way another week. I feel very strongly about this normally. I don't feel this way for this game. If you want to play it in English, it is just as good, and in some ways, especially if you're a native English speaker, better than the other side of the coin. I feel the same way. I feel like the Japanese voiceovers are better than English in some ways, but just as good in other ways. It's an unreasonable ask, so I won't. But there's a small part of me over here thinking that, for Christ's sake, make one playthrough of this game with Japanese and then English because they're both that good. Most players won't do this, but that's just how strongly I feel about the casting and performance across the board. It's just dead on. I wish 90% of dubbed mainstream anime episodes were this good over here with Crunchyroll and Funimation, were like half as good as the English VAs in this game. That's how little normally I will tolerate English VAs. One thing this game does that not lots of not originally native English games do is sometimes something is voiced in an action scene, and because of the nature of the scene and not wanting to distract the player, thank you for this by the way, it won't be subtitled. So I've never said this for a game or anime before, and I probably will again, but I kind of recommend starting this game in English as opposed to Japanese. If that bothers you, like it does me, you don't want to miss a dialogue, because even though the Japanese VAs kill this project in a really special way, I don't want people to miss out on some awesome moments where we're playing as Reiko Tsubaki Koji. I had to keep sounding that out. The Rose Bride herself. After we slap the shit out of someone, we say something like, "This is the power of a common woman. Oh, I'm a common woman. I can withstand anything." And it's just really funny and good. It adds so much to the game. Had a really good time.
So is it all females in the game, or are there men getting slapped too?
I've only seen females. That's a good question. So it seems like the world is just
many ladies.
Yeah.
SML.
Oh my god, I didn't think about that.
I'm an asshole.
I mean, not any more than a noble woman. So be proud. But yeah, I had a really good time with this.
It clocks in at $20. What are your thoughts on it?
After everything else I've said about how impressed I am with this game, I think the nicest thing I can say to end this is why I give it such a glowing review. I do give it a buy it. It's clear I wasn't expecting much of this game. But even outside of it being better than I thought it would be, quote unquote, for the type of game it is, at the end of the day, it's just such a cool project that did such a good, cohesive job. It did everything it was setting out to do, and it feels complete. I just want to talk about it to people. I want to show it to people. I want to bust it out when people come to my house using, by the way, I should mention this before we end up, the fact it has multiplayer for one-on-one person slapping duels in real life as an excuse to show people this funny, crazy-ass game. And I want to give this game to my friend as a gift because I imagine her opening it and starting to play it, laughing her ass off, and at some point being like, "Oh wow, this is a really cool game. I've never seen anything like this before." It really did it, and it's just a really well made game with a lot of unexpected attention to small details it didn't have to do that would serve as a great gift or a party game to whip out and have everybody screaming about. And I think in a way that's the highest praise you can really give a game.
Or Acolyte wants to know if you would say this game slaps.
Oh my god, this game slaps. It absolutely does.
Also, I gotta say, I looked the roster of characters up, and for anybody who likes La Mulan and is familiar with it, I think it's hilarious that you can use the crazy shop owner as one.
Oh my god. Can I read you a couple of the screenshots from that really quick? I don't know what time we're at, but so I've never played La Mulana. Carrie has, and we were both laughing our asses off at this. It was just, let me get to my page here where I uploaded some screenshots.
That's for those who don't know, La Mulana and La Mulana 2 are two of my all-time favorite games. So I'm like,
you would really love this. So this lady comes out. I'll send you a picture of her. But she's like, "Oh, as you know, I am the main character of this game." And then another lady comes in and she goes, "What made you this delusional? You're just a bonus character for the remake. When it comes to La Mulana's heroine, everyone knows that I, the pretty girl from the shop, am the true heroine." And Mulbrook then goes, "Who is the sad old lady acting like a teenager?" And then she slaps the shit out of her in level 1. And then afterwards she goes, "I beat the old bat who wasn't even on the official site's character roster anymore. Next." And I'm just over here you don't have to play this game to see what they're doing. They're making jokes the entire time about how we're going to make La Mulana a collab. Why would they even be slapping each other? And that's the first fight. Who's really a character in the game? And the jokes just get crazy from there. It is a really good. I gotta get you this game, Pernell. Well, thank you guys for giving SML this game because you've already made a sale. I'm gonna have to buy it for my buddy. This
is a good. This sounds fucking
thanks for finding this, Joe. This game was wild.
Oh, they found us. WayForward always finds us, and
that's awesome.
I love them for it. WayForward are amazing.
Thank you. You guys,
big shout out to
y'all
them.
walked in the walk. Yeah, this was an amazing project. Thank you for finding us.
All right, well, next game to talk about is Dr. Cat, developed by Headway Games, published by Afil Games, released April 11th on Xbox One, Series X and S, and Windows Store for $4.99. It is a separate purchase on Xbox and Windows, so you get that achievement stack. In Dr. Cat, you will one day live in a society of cats. Step into the shoes of Dr. Cat, a renowned psychologist, and take care of cute patient cats by discovering their stories and helping them overcome their traumas. Bree, tell us about your time as Dr. Cat.
So yeah, you're a cat psychologist helping your feline patients overcome their mental issues through the power of picture puzzles. Each cat comes in and talks a little bit about their depression or their grief or anxiety, and we help them untangle their feelings and see the bigger picture of their life. We make the picture clear by swapping tiles until the image is all in the correct order. So it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, but without, it's just rectangles. And there's like a convenient border outline. So you'll see if on a square, if it's got like a little line on the left, it goes on the left border, and that helps you sort the pictures out faster. There's an easy mode with bigger tiles and the normal hard modes with smaller tiles. It's short, much like this review. I think there will be like 12 levels to go through.
That is short.
Yeah. There is some replayability in terms of achievement hunting, but it's just 12 levels. Cute art. The dialogue, while dealing with some heavy topics, felt light enough to make it an enjoyable enough piece. I had a decent time with it.
No, it's not an expensive game. It's only $5. What do you think? Is it worth the investment?
I put it in the why not category. It is inexpensive and it's decent for like gamerscore hunters, but there's not a lot of length to the game. If you like a chill like puzzle experience and you're okay talking about mental health topics, like there's some good stuff in there. Just
how heavy does it get? Is like I see that it's rated E10, so obviously it's not going to get like too crazy. I would assume.
Yeah. No, it's like. The first cat comes in and he's like stressed. And so like the picture is of like his kid, like one of his kids kind of hanging off his shoulder and his wife is sitting there and she's kind of got this like furrowed brow. And the other kid is like looking really expectant. Like he really wishes dad wasn't so busy. And then, dad's sitting there in the middle, like all looking sad. And he's got like bills crumpled up in his hands. And so like he's just trying to get through the stress of his regular life. And
is he like crumpling up the bills, going like, "These bills are stressing me out"?
Me out.
Oh
yes.
God!
Oh,
Had to hurry up and unmute to say great job.
Me out.
But yeah, I put it in the why not category. Like I said, it's inexpensive and it was a good time. It was pretty lighthearted for the heavy topics. So yeah.
Would you do Xbox, Windows, or both?
I mean, I tend to go for gamerscore, so I would do both if I could, for sure. But yeah.
Cool. Or if you're hanging out in our chat, we're giving away a copy thanks to Afil Games.
Neat.
So hit !enter, get your entry in, and maybe you'll walk away with a copy of the game on Xbox when we are done with the show in like 7 hours, something like that. Bree, that is it for you. Thank you as always for coming on, hanging out. We don't have a Thursday show this week, so this is it for a while.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a good time at the convention, and we'll get to hear about all that next week. Indeed. What are your plans for the night? I'm still not sure. I'm going to go play some games, and nice. Yeah, I'm going to play some games. I'll figure out what. It'll be the show.
Classic.
Yeah.
I got my 1K in that. You
did?
I did. Awesome. I got a 1K in a sports game that's not like NFL 2K5 that had 4 achievements, all worth 200.
A 1K and a non-2K?
What game was it?
MLB The Show 24. Just got my 1,000 a couple days ago. The last achievement I got was for doing a diving catch.
Nice.
Diving catch.
Dove, I caught it. I heard the pop, and I'm like, fuck yeah. Yeah, that game seems way over my head.
Oh, fucking dude.
Yeah, throw it on casual and just hit the button to swing, and it's fun. On Game Pass.
I'll give it a look at. Cool.
Well, you have yourself a wonderful night.
Good night, everybody.
We'll catch you next time.
Night,
Any
Bree.
final words?
Have a good night, Bree.
I guess not.
Nope.
All right, next
Final
game,
word from
Anomaly. All right, next game,
here,
Anomaly Collapse, developed by RocketPunch Games, published by Spiral Up Games, released April 12th on Steam for $19.99. Command a squad of adorably fierce warriors in Anomaly Collapse, a turn-based roguelike strategy game that offers a fresh twist to an old formula. Face off against otherworldly beings and uncover the dark secrets of supernatural calamities. Immerse yourself in a story where every move counts. Pernell, tell us about your time with Anomaly Collapse.
So Anomaly Collapse is an interesting game where you are playing as an army of furry warriors who are living in I just want to call it, but it's a post-apocalyptic world that is being infected by a series of spore monsters. And your team dispatches to engage them. And through an unfortunate set of events, they get dispersed in the world. And you start the game out as a character named Glitch, who's, I guess, like a fox character, who's like basically trying to figure out where everybody is and try to, reconcile the situation and get things under control. And this is just the lead into the roguelike game until it eventually pretty much runs you through a series of tutorial events and then push you into the main game proper. But the actual flow of the game is you start out as one character. At the beginning, you choose, basically after the tutorial where you play as a Glitch, you're able to choose from one of 3 individuals to be your primary character. And then from there, you can kind of recruit others as you play. When you're on the map screen after choosing a character, nodes will pop up on the world map that you're on, indicating where you can go. I guess before I talk about the character builds. No, I'll do this. So nodes pop up telling you where you can go, and the nodes dictate things such as enemies that might be there, rather the difficulty of enemies that might be there, any particular effects that might affect the area of the battle, and also the sort of rewards you could expect to get there. These events always have a series of days, in-game days, before they can expire, which means if you let an event sit for too long, you won't be able to engage. That could be battles, that could be positive events that could occur, etc. When you go up to an event that involves a battle, a skirmish will break out. And what that ends up being is a linear battlefield, so a 2D plane, and up to about 3 characters can be in your party. And when they're there, you will be tasked with, invoking commands. Enemies can show up on the map or on this grid, and they telegraph the attacks they can do, that they're going to do against you, and what areas they're going to affect on this grid, giving you the opportunity to act to either defend yourself against these, try to kill the enemies before they attack you, or just kind of shift the environment to the best of your ability to get out of the way of the attacks or even move them so that they can't hit you. And by doing this, you can do quite a few things here. Your characters get what are referred to as 2 types of points that you can spend to do abilities or do actions. You get movement points, which primarily affect movement, and action points, which primarily affect actions, though that can get twisted depending on some of the skills you can find in the game. When you use one of these abilities, let's say, for example, you might have a gun attack that says, hey, fire 1 shot that does 7 tech damage against an opponent. The game will show you the range at which you can actually attack with the ability. That potential amount of damage, but you can get an idea based off of the description of the attack. And, essentially give you the cost of the attack. You perform it, it triggers it, and if you decide you want to use it again, you can do so, but it will cost twice the amount that you used the first time to do it. So you can't necessarily spam an attack willy-nilly unless you really build up for it, which can be done if you decide to end a turn without spending any of your action points, because the game will give you some extra action points every time you end a turn without using some. So you can theoretically kind of pack them in, try to collect as many as you could, and then move on to do a massive screen wipe with your army at just the right time. Again, at the end of a turn, the enemy will do their actions and proceed. Now, there are little bits to this combat that can make it a little dicier. For example, a tile can only have up to 3 enemy or 3 characters on it. Once you have more than 3 characters on it, it becomes kind of an encumbered space, resulting in more people being unable to get on there. And if I remember correctly, you can't even move onto it while there's 3 people there. So you either kind of do something to either kill enemies, get people off of it or whatever, or you're just kind of stuck. Random events can occur on these spaces too, so just toxic clouds that could poison people, rocks and whatnot that can add to the encumbrance of a zone, resulting in you having to either break them or actually use an action to push them into enemies, thereby creating bowling damage. I made that term up, but that's pretty much what it is. Just by hearing that, you know what I'm talking about. I hope you do anyway. So as you're doing that, you pretty much play through a battle. Battle is one more thing I want to mention. Again, due to it being a 2D plane, they actually make use of the fact that there's edges to the battle. far left edge and the far right edge. You can actually knock an enemy into a corner space. They get a status effect referred to as cornered, and you do extra damage to them because it's almost like, I think there was like 2D tug of war / wrestling type games back in the day where if you pushed a person out of bounds, it was like, hey, you're out, like sumo wrestling. So you do extra damage if you can rock a guy in the corner of the match. So that's pretty cool. You end a battle by winning, hopefully, because the alternative sucks. And you will gain a variety of things, experience points and currency, which can be used on random event shops that you can come across sometimes. And also you can gain access to, I guess, like artifacts. And artifacts are one of the primary ways in which you will be able to advance and strengthen your characters, because they will be pretty much like random items that exist within the world. Think of it like that. And these random items can be used to give you different buffs, whether they be passive buffs or, general effects, such as, for example, one of my favorite aspects of the combat is co-op attacks, where if your character's on the same space as each other and one of them does an attack, partner character will follow up and do another attack. Well, there's one specific item that you can equip where that support spacing is one space greater than before. So you can be one space away instead of on top of each other, do an attack, and then bam, the co-op kicks in anyway. And you can get a pretty cool chain of attacks by doing that sometimes. But you also get new attacks as well from some of these artifacts. And they can be equipped generally to any character, though there are some that can be earned either by leveling up or maybe even on the field that are limited to specific characters in their respective character classes. So that's worth noting. Early on, you can only equip 2 of each thing, but you'll eventually be gaining the ability to equip more than those things and start getting more of a padded loadout for your units. There's also one other bit to combat that I think is pretty cool, and there's like rewind features. So there actually is the ability to rewind actions if you feel as though you screwed up majorly on a particular turn, but they are limited, so use with caution. When you end a run, basically your characters die out or whatnot, you're able to go back and you can choose other characters to come back into the run with. And as you play through the game, you will unlock more characters aside from the 3 that you kind of see early on. And they come with various conditions, such as getting to beating a certain section of the game or, getting a certain perk set or something like that. Like, they give you some pretty decent ways to unlock new characters. I feel like this game is a lot of fun. I found myself engaged in, exploring them. Oh, no, I'll say that too. The thing that triggers the bosses, and I'm sorry about this, Joe, you're probably, what the hell is this guy doing? But the thing that triggers the boss battles in a zone, every time you take on a typical event, usually defeating enemies or whatnot, you'll increase what's considered as an investigation meter. And once the investigation meter reaches its climax, that's when the boss will show up, essentially basically being your way to get to the next area of the game if you manage to defeat it. So that is your reasoning for engaging multiple things and then eventually beating the snot out of a boss. But like I was saying earlier, though, I think this game is a lot of fun, and I do feel like it does a number of things that adds a bit of elements to the roguelike genre's movements and stuff. Like, I like the fact that they kind of telegraph what the enemies are going to do, allowing you, the player, to use your actions to mitigate what's going to come, as opposed to just being like, well, I guess we'll see what happens, like in most other games of this type. So, and of course, I mean, I do like the cartoony character aspect. Animals are not. I mean, even the little poison freaks are like pretty interesting designed art-wise. So I think this game is an easy recommended as a buy. Like I said, it does a lot of new things. It makes me think a little differently about how I strategize. And when you consider how many roguelikes are out there right now, for someone to say this one does something a bit different, that says a lot. And I think people should take notice of that. It's a good game.
Cool. Well, you already gave your verdict, so I guess I don't have to ask.
You should still ask, because that's part of the format, man. We got to do this.
You already said it was a buy it.
What if I change my mind?
Did you change your mind?
No, it's a buy it. Totally worth getting. Highly recommend it.
Wait, we got to say what it's clocking in at. What's it clocking in at?
That's exactly, Joe.
It clocks in at $19.99, but if you pick it up in the next 40 hours, as of right now, it's $17.99.
Whoa.
So, as of when the show releases, you got about a day. What do you think? $20?
Easily worth $20. 20 schmeckles even.
He's dropping a dub.
All right, next game, Glorious Savior, developed by EXE-CREATE, published by KECMO, released April 12th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $14.99. Rain, an aristocratic protagonist, is tasked by the king to retrieve a stolen sword used to defeat an overlord centuries ago. Little do they know their journey will unravel the threads of fate, leading them through time to mysterious realms of the past. Chris, what's going on in Glorious Savior?
Well, everybody, may turn to hymn number 427, Glorious Savior. Which, no, actually, I Googled it because if you do Google it without specifying game or KECMO, there actually is a song, a Christian song that is Glorious Saviors. I figured there would be, but I was like, what? It would be ridiculous if there wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Glorious Saviors. Yeah,
That's tonight's music, by the way. No.
Tonight's music from Lindsey Graham Ministries. Yeah, no. So Glorious Saviors is the newest KECMO EXE-CREATE jam, although I wasn't able to find out for sure, but it seems like this is a game that was previously released some years ago, which is very typical of these releases, is that they're usually descended from mobile games from 10 to 15 years ago. But
this one, it looks like it may have released in 23 on Android.
I found well, on Japanese sites I found some things for like 2015, and then I saw a thread from 2017 where they talked about it being recently released. So I don't know, man.
Maybe that's just the English version I'm looking at.
Well, yeah, the English version, but I mean, like, it's important to kind of have a context for when the game came out as to knowing what kind of mechanics to expect and things like that, because KECMO has a lot of RPGs, and kind of the best way to tell what's going to be in one is when it was released, because a lot of them do have similar systems depending on the kind of time. This one, however, has a few things that are I'm not going to say the word. One does not want to use that word when talking about these games, but I'm going to say definitely different than what one would normally expect. Special.
Distinct.
That's nice. I like that. So yeah, this game follows the male protagonist, Rain. It's always a male protagonist. That much is evergreen truth. Except for that one game that I reviewed the last time that had a female protagonist. So, but we are back to normal in terms of protagoni. And I said I actually said this a long time ago because this was mostly true back then. But I said that KECMO EXE-CREATE male protagonists tend to alternate between being just a sweetheart puppy dog just out to help people, and then just like the most misanthropic kind of like hero rejects the call kind of person, or just like really cranky about having to get out there and swing a sword. This one is kind of in the halfway point between those two. Rain is a noble. He's not particularly likable. He's pretty judgy, but he also is like it's weird because it's like he's both kind of schemy, but he's also extremely like generous and very focused on like kind of overcorrecting for like the smallest problems. So like there's he's charged by the king, who is King Glorious, by the way. So that's where we get that part of the name. It's because the place he's from is called Glorious. He's charged with finding a sacred sword, and so he's like, okay. And then of course the first female deuteragonist, I don't remember what they call the person who's not in charge, but the second character is always female in these games, and that is true for Viola, who is an assistant who gets to go along with Rain and kind of spy on and like keep an eye on him, essentially, but like not in a secret way, but in like a in a very you officially have somebody that's looking after you kind of way. So of course she serves as like the kind of a little bit of a tsundere kind of character, a little bit cold, but also ultimately a friend. And then eventually you come across 2 other female characters. One of them, like I always say that the 3rd character is usually nondescript and then the 4th character is wacky. That's a little bit true here. But they are both women, so we got all female cast except for male protagonist. I'm sure that's not going to lead to any misunderstandings at any point in the story. But Rain is charged with getting this sacred sword that once slew the Overlord, who doesn't apparently have a second name or anything. It's always either the Demon Lord or the Overlord, isn't it? But yeah, so he travels out and goes on this sacred quest. And the first thing he does is go to the nearest town and orders a blacksmith to create a replica of the sword so that he can bring it back and say that that's the sword. But for the reason that he just wants to like keep the heat off of the finding of this sword for like some weird reason. Like I guess there's competition for his quest and stuff, so he kind of wants to keep that going while he can kind of just work with a little bit more freedom. I don't know. He's got like a real reason to do it, but like he's basically like, yo, make me a fake sword. And to pay for the sword, he's given a jewel that's worth like $1 million. And he just like gives away that jewel to rescue the 4th character, April, from a job where I guess she got locked into like this bad contract. And instead of beating up her boss, he's just like, well, okay, we'll have this jewel and then she's good to go, right? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then they, attack you anyway to try and get more money out of you. But then I guess he loses the jewel. And so now he can't pay for the sword. And so now they have to go find the real sword. It's just like, all right, man, you're operating on a level I don't comprehend. So that's kind of how the plot works in this game. So yeah, that's the adventure, is to go and find the magical MacGuffin and possibly face off against a great evil in order to save the world somehow. But yeah, like I said, the story's actually kind of well written, but it's really weird that the character interaction seems a lot less natural than in others, and it's possibly due to just translation faux pas and issues, but I don't know. Typically, the stories read a little smoother than this one, and I can't quite place my finger on it. But what I can place my finger on is the presentation and battle systems, which is what we usually talk about with KECMO EXE-CREATE games. So, of course, the graphic style is a little bit different, but not unusual for this kind of game. So the regular walking around the map, very familiar. It's going to be like kind of the same walking around on like an RPG Maker style, like top-down, 32-bit looking view. I would say like, a PlayStation kind of look, perhaps. Well, a mobile game, I guess, nowadays is what you would just say, because, I mean, this is kind of like the standard for those. But then once you get into battle, it actually goes into a 3D polygonal kind of view. Even though that's only aesthetic, it doesn't really affect anything, because you can't just like freely move around in 3D space or anything like that. It's just the presentation is 3D, which I like. I kind of appreciate when these games like kind of switch to that, because although I do like really good sprite work, it's just nice that they switch it up sometimes to kind of keep things different. Different is always good, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like the Alphadia Genesis games in that sense, in that it freely moves between 2D and 3D, both of which are pretty good for 2015 standards. So the actual systems of the game are really interesting. For one, there are different kinds of weapons that have different kinds of skills attached to them. So if you have this weapon equipped, and by the way, you can dual equip. So you have two-handed equipability here, and you kind of choose which one you want to use in any particular move. But also, equipping any weapon attaches a skill to your character, and so you can kind of customize your character's skills by what weapons you have equipped on them, and that can lead to some pretty good strategic advantages. Every character in this game can use every weapon. There's no limitation on weapons, and that's very unusual for a KECMO game. Normally, your hero's the sword guy, your second person's the staff girl, your third and fourth person are like, I don't know, a bow and arrow and an axe or something. In this one, it doesn't matter. Everyone can use axes, everyone can use bows. The cool thing is that each of those weapon types, when you use them, so it's a little bit like Final Fantasy II in that way, in that each of the kinds of weapons that you equip will also give you a different kind of stat boost. So if your character has a wand on their offhand, they may be getting like a big old magic boost that they can then use for their magic skill, which is attached to the wand. But then that can also affect the skill that they use on their other hand's weapon. So yeah, it's pretty cool like that they give you this freedom to kind of customize your characters how you want. And of course, speaking of weapons, the lottery system is back. You've got 2 different kinds of tickets and points that you can use to try and roll for some great items. The cool thing is, and this is something I've not ever seen in a KECMO game, and I'm so glad it's in this one. If you go to play the lottery to try and roll a weapon, in all the other games, you just roll for a weapon and then just hope that it's the one for the character that you want. You're just hoping this is a sword because your hero needs a new sword. But then, it comes out, hey, it's a new pair of gloves. Like, but my glove character already has 23 gloves. Like, I can't do this anymore. In this one, you can roll for any specific weapon you want. So you can be like, I want to spend 100 points to just roll for one sword. And then you just order that sword, and then it comes out. It's going to very likely be better than anything else you can buy, but not so good that it breaks the game. And of course, again, there's skills attached to each of these weapons. So even if it's not like the most powerful thing, maybe it's got a skill that you can use. So that's really cool. I really enjoy that they're utilizing the shop. It's called shop instead of lottery, but we know what it is. But it's really cool that they're using it in this way for this particular kind of game. So like I said, I really enjoy the system. It feels light and not too crowded. It makes battles kind of fun. Of course, this game has difficulty modes, everything from easy to nightmare. And if you want to make the game even easier, of course, there's additional purchasable DLC to triple your experience, remove encounters, and do other things like that. So that, of course, is there. But yeah, like all in all, it's a very like I said, it's an interesting game to read because I don't quite have a handle on what the hero's motivations are. Of course, when you have one guy and 3 female characters in a game, then that's, like I said, we're setting up for some pretty comical misunderstandings, I'm sure. Looking forward to seeing what unfolds there. But yeah, all in all, it keeps you on your toes because, again, your hero is weird and the things that happen are kind of like strange, but he's also weirdly on top of things. And so it throws you some curveballs, and I like that. And the systems are definitely robust enough to keep the story going. So I really appreciate about this one. And yeah. Well,
it clocks in at $15. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, $15. I mean, I always say, well, I don't always say buy it, but these games always manage to be good enough that I'm just like, yeah, there's no reason not to buy this. Yeah, I'll say that since this game isn't in a long-running series or anything, it's a standalone. It's got stuff that's different than the others, and the looks, honestly, I mean, they're a little dated by now, but that's, again, the issue of it being a 10-year-old mobile RPG at heart. At the very least, it looks like one. So really, that's about the only thing that wouldn't recommend this as a buy it, is that it looks like other KECMO EXE-CREATE RPGs, no matter what you say about it. But I do like it, and I think it's a buy it.
Cool. All right, next up, we're going to take another look at Bunhouse, developed by Reky Studios, published by Digerati, released April 12th, this time on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, and PS5 for $19.99. Bunhouse is a cute, simple, bunny-filled game focused on growing plants and managing a greenhouse. Take care of your leafy plant buddies by balancing the amount of water and light they get. Play with friends and upgrade your greenhouse for wholesome, relaxing fun. Brooke, you checked this out on the Switch. It is now on Xbox, and you are giving it another look. How does it compare to the Switch release, and is it still a good time?
I did have a good time with it last time, but ultimately I called it a buy it because I had some issues with it. Let's revisit it for Xbox, and now that it's been out a few more months and maybe gone through some updates. I do have a couple things I want to adjust for my last review, but not much. I'm going to keep it at about the same rating I did then, with a couple caveats now that I've gotten to play this for Xbox, as Joe said previously for Nintendo Switch a few months ago. Bunhouse, quick recap, relaxing farming game where you are a rabbit running a big old customizable greenhouse. This game's cute, cozy. I mean, it's gardening and bunnies, decorating your area, selling plants to buy more plants and more cool stuff. You can unlock more activities than just gardening and being a rabbit. You can eventually unlock fishing. For those who don't know, you can do bunny yoga. Bunnies already do yoga in real life. As in, when they stretch after a nap, they do really funny little yoga poses that look an awful lot like they do for humans in real life, meaning me as a rabbit owner who has seen this happen in real life. I was looking at this game going, ha, they got it. Bunnies really do look like that, LOL. And I can definitely see that this game was made by people who love rabbits and know a lot about them. So let's talk about what I didn't love last time I reviewed this, because as much as I want to give every cozy rabbit game an absolutely glowing review, I couldn't exactly glow for this one, even though I found it to be a pretty good try it. Because I had some basic issues. I found the controls themselves on Switch to not be smooth. I found the graphics, to not be super sharp. Things looked a little fuzzy, and when we want to talk graphics for this game, I must also call out the text. It was too small to read a lot of the time. That's a pet peeve of mine. Even on my 30-something inch screen or whatever it was, I didn't love trying to read the text of this game all the time on the Switch screen itself. Didn't totally love it on the big screen either. I thought that was a big playtesting oversight. Performance-wise, I like it. It works okay, but I did find the game to itself just be a bit laggy all around. So ultimately, all of those together, and the game not having like a whole lot else going on, very small open world, I did have to give this a try it when we reviewed it before. So do I feel the same way now that the game has been out for a few months, now that it's on Xbox? I do like it more, but I have to be honest, I think a really big contributing factor to why I like it more wasn't just the developer updates and the console switch. I kind of regret this because my real life rabbit went through a very expensive surgery, but when I moved into my place a couple months ago, I invested in a bigger TV. I got a much bigger screen than I've ever had, and I've been having a really good time playing games on that. I got to finish Tears of the Kingdom on that, and it blew my mind. So once I started playing Bunhouse on a much, much bigger screen, I was impressed by the graphics. I was like, oh, if this is a huge-ass screen or you had a projector to throw this on, the graphics don't look so fuzzy anymore. They actually have a lot more detail than you would think. And obviously, it was a lot easier for me to read the game, making it just an easier play for me. So one thing I'm surprised to announce here is that if you like the idea of this game and you have a really big TV screen, maybe 55, 60 inches, this game is actually pretty detailed. It's really pretty. The controls, I feel like they were kind of smoother. I even popped my Switch back on to try it out. They weren't as bad as I recalled, and I found it to be pretty smooth. And I found the game to be less laggy, but still a little laggy overall. One thing I wish that they would update about this game is the way the rabbit itself moves. The rabbit you're playing in the first person, it kind of jumps around really slowly, and it's hard to get around to different places or pinpoint a section on your map and get to it accurately. You also have a little lunge you can do. Rabbits can hop and speed up, but you don't have a lot of accuracy in where you're landing, and it kind of just makes a game that's supposed to be cozy and comfy a little difficult to handle. All in all, I give it a better review than I did for Switch back in the day for us. It's still a try it, but this is on the high try it side, closer to buy it. Whereas if you had a bigger screen, love rabbits, and really love this vibe of game, the cozy farming game, and you're not expecting a whole lot else outside of that, and you just want to have a relaxing time, I do think that the decorations in this game are more customizable than we would expect. So if you like the cozy decorator vibe, this could be a buy it for you. But I think for most people, this is still going to be a really solid try it. Although it's one of the only cozy farming games I think I prefer on Xbox as opposed to Switch. So I got to hand it to him.
Cool. Well, it clocks in at $20. Your thoughts?
I wish it would come down on that. I think if y'all made it $7 or $8, I would give this a buy it. But at that price point, it's got to be a try it for me.
All right, sounds good. Do you think if someone was going to jump on this game, do you think it'd be better on Switch or on Xbox/PlayStation?
Actually, Xbox. And I haven't played it for PlayStation, but Yeah, I popped it on both consoles this week, and I gotta say, like, I don't have anything against Xbox at all, but I don't expect farmy, comfy games. You know, I associate that more with Switch. I would recommend this for Xbox first, and I think that's the first time I've said that.
Cool. All right. Well, Brooke, that is it for you. Are you going to stick around or are you heading out?
I'll stick around. We'll see what y'all have to say.
Cool, because the next game that we're going to talk about is Tetra Tactics, developed and published by Free Range Robots, released April 9th on Steam for $14.99. Strategize, collect, and upgrade. Tetra Tactics is a roguelike deck builder inspired by Triple Triad with deep meta progression, replayability. Outwit your opponents on a 4x4 tactical grid, traverse the map, augment your cards, and combine allies to ultimately build the most powerful deck. Pernell, tell us about your time with Tetra Tactics.
Tactics is pretty much a card game that, like you kind of said, it plays a lot like Triple Triad, if you are familiar with that. Essentially, if you have played that game, well, definitely continue listening, because this is that with a fair bit more meat on the bone. And if you are not familiar with that, well, I guess continue to listen anyway, because I'll try to explain it to you, because why the hell not? It's what I'm here to do. So, Tetra Master is you embarking on a pilgrimage, going from node to node in a roguelike style, adventure, taking on opponents and engaging in situations as nodes do. I'll talk about just general events later, but I'll just talk about the main concept of the game. In this game, and Triple Triad in general, by that matter, is a 4x4 grid that is represented as slots that can be used to play cards. Each card you play has 4 numbers in the respective cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. And the number in each slot dictates the level of power that area has. So let's say I play a card at on the center of the screen. And the card has 0, 0, 5, and 2 on it. That means the 2 0 zones are pretty weak. The 5 is pretty mid. And the other one is just, I guess it's better than nothing. So the opponent decides they want to play a card as well. That card has its own set of numbers on it, and they will then choose where to play their card on the board. If they decide to play that card next to my card, then if 2 sides are touching each other, the 2 numbers on their respective sides of the cards touching will duke it out. Higher number wins. And though there were a variety of different effects in play back in that game, such as board events and whatever, the general gist was that cards would match up against numbers. The losing number would flop, and then there were other elements in play too. But I'm not going to go into that because I'm here to talk about what this game's doing and what makes it special. So take that base description and add a number of elements to it, such as, for example, it's not just numbers in the corners anymore. The developer of this game decided they wanted to kind of spice it up a bit, in some effect, in ways that will make you kind of pull your head up. Like, wow, there's a lot more to think about here. But I'll go down the roster a bit. There's a sword icon on the number that could be on one of these slots. Think of the sword as a 10 in the numeric scale. However, that means 2 things. One, that the 10 is the sword beats every other number on the board. If you play a sword against any numbered side, it's going to win. I also believe that to mean that an ability that reduces or increases the number of a card doesn't matter there, because the sword is not a number. It merely acts as a number. So that is a good value for the sword. If it battles against itself, it just counts as a tie. So swords can't beat swords or anything. There's a shield icon that can be there. And when it comes to the shield, it basically works as a pure defensive ability. If you need to 100% shore up a region or a direction that can be attacked from, the shield cannot be taken by anything. However, the shield also cannot take other items. So it's like, only to be used for defensive purposes. Magic is another item. It looks like a thunderbolt, which is sort of like a glass cannon card. It can take anything but shields, but magic can also take, anything can also take it. So it's like saying, well, I absolutely need to have your card. I'm going to play magic against it. Boom, I win. However, if you leave magic exposed, then anything else can come along and just take it right back. And then there is quite possibly probably the most brutal of the new cards to me. Brutal in the sense that it really screws with your way of thinking about how this game works. And that is the bow card. The bow card, if you play it, it will take every card that is 2 or more spaces away from it, so long as the symbol on the side of the card facing it is not a shield. So it can be pretty freaking brutal if played correctly, because you can essentially take 2 cards at once with it. However, if you place a card next to the bow, like directly next to it, it's easy pickings. So there's so much dancing that's taking place with card placement in this game in general at this base form. Then you have to add another element to it, which is that if you place a card down and is combating 2 different sides or more, and it defeats 2 sides or more, that counts as a combo. It beats both cards and flips them to your side. But then after that, every card it took will then battle the cards next to it. And if it can take those cards, it'll take those too. So that results in situations where you can have a match just get completely turned on its head because somebody just left the wrong card vulnerable or cards vulnerable. One card is placed to take them both, and then it creates a cascade that they can take the entire board back for the other player. It's pretty brutal. So there's a lot of strategic play on just using the cards in this game, far more than the original, Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX mini games had available to the player. But then this guy, or guys, or gals, or individuals added even more to this game. There are potions you can acquire from shops, which work as like one-time buffs or augmentations to cards, can reduce numbers, increase numbers, change symbols, etc. There are hero abilities, which the individual characters that you can choose from during the game have access to. You get 2 per character. You can use 1 ability per game, per round, a certain number of times. And there are some pretty devious abilities. Like early on, there was an ability that says take the lowest number on any card and increase it by 4. So if you have a card that has 3 zeros on it, you can turn that into 3 4s and then have like whatever the original number was. But then, since you can use an ability twice in one ability per turn, and you can use an ability multiple times during a batch, you can increase those 4s again by another 4 because that is still the lowest number on the card. So there are some pretty cool things you can do. There's like abilities where you can reduce the numbers on other people's cards and whatnot, insta flips, all kinds of crazy crap. And then there's also relics, and relics work as like just passive buffs or weird buffs that can be chained together. Like, for example, there's one I remember seeing that particularly seemed interesting where if you play a card on the board and that card is not taken by another character card or during that turn, it attacks again the following round. So in the event that a card is placed next to it, or you place it next to a card that it can't beat or something, and you change this effect later on, you can pretty much utilize it to do some pretty cool stuff. And there's tons of these things. You can equip up to 8 relics as you earn them, and they all will trigger. So you can have weird chain effects that take place in the game. So as you progress through the levels and as you battle with these cards, the cards themselves will also level up, and when they or get experience points. And when the card maxes out in its experience, it will level up and get a general effect attributed to it. Sometimes it might get like a number increase, or you might be able to change symbols around the numbers on the card to do other cool effects, such as like make a card do a reverse check against a card or something like that. So if a card attacks you, it kind of does an instant counter on the card, resulting in some general complications to it, which can result in some overturns of the game as well. So I don't know how to describe it. Let's see. It's a lot to think about with this game in regards to different things you can do. I guess one other thing I should mention as far as one of my favorite ones is like the ability to like pretty much switch places with a card. So not only do you do an attack, but you can augment the card to say, I'm placing the card down. Now I'm going to switch places with the card that's next to it, or next to whatever number has that symbol on it. And then it's going to attack from its new position. So you basically kind of just, if you have a better number, but you have nowhere else to put it but above it, let's say you have a top number that's high, a bottom number that's low, but you have the backstab augmentation. You can put that card down, switch places with the card below it, and then now your more powerful card is attacking the card that you just switched places with. There's a lot of meat on the bone in this weird game, despite the fact that it is literally triple triad with extra steps. And in this way, I mean it in a good way. There is one weird glitch I came across, though, that I'm not sure what to make of it. It might be something that is going to backfire on me in the end. But there is an augments option at the top of the screen when you're choosing a mode you want to play or choose a hero or whatnot, or view heroes in your unlocks. you can click Change Augment there to view a card in your inventory and to purchase an augment using shards, which is one of the currencies in the game that you use to unlock, new characters and various perks and stuff. However, I realized that you can click refund augment over and over again and increase the amount of shards in your inventory and then refund all augments to clear it out. Like the augmenter goes from 0 to your total number of augments that you have to negative augments, and you get shards for that, which can be used as currency. So hopefully that's something that can get patched out and basically later on in the game that can make it so that people can't cheese unlocks later on or whatever. So, but I don't know. The game is pretty fun. I like the idea that when you walk down to different areas, you get into battles with characters, and in some cases, the characters that you battle against can have traits of their own, which makes battling them potentially complicated as well. And I like the fact that when you lose a battle, the game doesn't instantly say, well, you fucked up, game over. Instead, there is a currency referred to as supplies, and when the supplies run out, that's when it's over. So you have room for error if you manage to make mistakes and you don't win a battle. So it's not insta-punishing so much as, well, sometimes you can try again. Don't worry about it if you fail. As a person who likes Final Fantasy Tactics, God damn, I'm tired. Triple Triad from Final Fantasy VIII. I will say that I was an easy sucker for this title because I don't like Final Fantasy VIII, but I love Triple Triad.
There's a lot of people who say that.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
You hate Triple Triad, but love
Triple
8?
Triad?
I don't like Triple Triad, but I love Final Fantasy VIII.
Great googly moogly, Chris.
I mean,
no.
Well, it's not a bad game per se. It's just of the Final Fantasy card games, it's like my least favorite, right below Queen's Blood.
That I can understand. Then it's not horrible, but if I could choose any other one that's existed, I'll take those. I can totally understand that.
There's just not much to it, and also any game where you have to manipulate the entire outside of the card game in order to eliminate the random rule. I mean, come on.
The random rule sucks.
The random rule sucks, but there is something cool about aside from the whole random rules existence, but the idea is you can utilize the game's world to be in this region, we don't play by those rules. We play by real rules. If you want to come to this neighborhood, you're going to play like this.
And sometimes that gets overruled, but that I can't say anything about that without getting into spoiler territory for a 25-year-old game.
All I remember is in 8, if someone's like, hey, let's play with random, no. Hey, let's play with random, no. Hey, let's play with random, no. Hey, let's play with random, no.
And then you
let's play. Okay.
Yeah. The random rule has been eliminated from this region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tetra Tactics is $15. It is on sale until the 23rd for $9.74. For $15, what are your thoughts?
Like I said, aside from that weird glitch, which can easily be patched out, I mean, there's fun to be had here. And if you like Triple Triad, there's nothing wrong with getting another take on it that will honestly really rack your brain on making choices on some of these rounds. It's not like Chris just said, Triple Triad felt pretty simple in the original game. I think this game takes it from being simple. It has a lot of legitimate tactical play to it. So I think it's worth it. I think it's worth a buy. And I hope the game does well. So fingers crossed.
Cool. All right, next up is Ado, developed and published by Tiny Warrior Games, released April 11th on Xbox One and Series X and S for $14.99. Ado is an atmospheric Metroidvania sword-dueling game set in the era of feudal Japan. It tells a visually driven story about a father who has given up his past ways in order to live a life of peace with his wife and child. However, this peace is soon disturbed as his child is taken from him. Aki, you covered this, and Horror Acolyte also wrote in an email for it. Let us start with the email. Horror Acolyte has to say, Ado is a Metroidvania set in feudal Japan that focuses on exploration mixed with a boss encounter focused on combat format. The entire story is Ado is told through visuals, a handful of cutscenes, and several environmental visuals found throughout the map. No dialogue or written notes. You take on the role of a cat samurai who has parted ways with his clan to live a more peaceful existence with his wife and newborn child. Unfortunately, this peaceful existence is interrupted by a few members of your former clan clan who have come to take your child. They quickly succeed in their mission, causing you to take up your sword once again and hunt them down. You begin your quest moving from area to area through vibrant pastel-colored environments, the ground completely covered in pink from the cherry blossom flowers of sakura trees. After catching up to the kidnappers and dispatching them one by one, you return home with your child to once again begin your tranquil life. Mission accomplished. Or so you think. To no one's surprise but your former clan is not happy with you executing its members and have once again returned for your child. You quickly hide your child in a hidden compartment underneath your home, go outside to greet a small army of clan members who have surrounded the residence. After roughing you up, the clan searches for the child with no success and decides to kidnap your wife instead. Shortly after, the sky begins to darken, causing your clan to leave. Taking their place is the demon that your clan worships. You make your stand against the demon, resulting in utter failure. The demon demolishes your house in an instant and leaves with your child. How many times is this kid going to get kidnapped in one game? After you wake up from the
500.
After you wake up from the battle, you find a monk standing guard awaiting your recovery. He takes you to a door that needs 3 relics to open it. You aren't really sure what's behind this door, but it must be useful, right? Now your real journey begins, hunting down the 3 relics to open the mysterious door. In typical Metroidvania fashion, the core gameplay, Ado has you moving around the map searching for power-ups and coins to access new areas, stat upgrading collectibles, all while engaging in mostly 1v1 encounters with boss enemies. Now that your family has been kidnapped the second time, the environment is a little less vibrant, but still visually pleasing, comprised of calming colors. In the early game, you just have your sword slash to attack enemies, along with a charged parry and dodge roll. As the game progresses, you'll find scrolls and runes that give you access to new abilities, like a counter skill and magic projectile attack, but for the most part, you'll be working with fairly limited skill set to use in combat. You can complete various time trials and basic puzzles to get health and magic bar upgrades, while also picking up collectible coins to unlock doors. There are a bunch of boss encounters scattered throughout the map, each locking you into battle with a singular enemy, save for a couple of encounters with multiple enemies. Enemies vary in creature type and preferred combat method. Most will be fighting you with traditional feudal-era weapons like katana, daggers, bows. Along with the occasional magic user, combat is relatively quick, consisting of swift slash attacks from your sword, followed by timely dodges. Getting a feel for the enemy moveset is important for maintaining a good balance between attacking and dodging, while also looking for an opening to use your charged parry attack. It can be used to temporarily stun the enemy while they are glowing white during a brief moment on certain attacks. A successful parry will give you a small window to get in some free damage. Enemies don't have a displayed health bar, but after taking a certain amount of damage, they'll change color and begin to use more powerful versions of previous attacks, with the possibility of some new attacks. After your foe is defeated, you dust yourself off and continue your adventure. For a solo developer project, Ado is fairly impressive. Art design is simple but pretty, with somewhat varied environment visuals, while exploring a decently sized map. Making use of your charged parry to interact with terrain and dash your way across the world is quite fun. Using teleport gates to fast travel later in the game makes for convenient backtracking for collectible cleanup. Controls are quite responsive, allowing for good pacing in combat, which can be quick but still leaves room for strategy. There are a handful of non-boss enemies throughout the map. They're easily avoidable and almost negligible. Ado offers 3 difficulties to start, with the most difficult one not being overly challenging, but completing the game once on an experienced difficulty opens up a couple harder difficulty options and a boss rush mode. This doesn't give much of an incentive to play again unless you're looking for a greater challenge. Sadly, the story elements are quite minimal and don't offer much in my opinion. Fortunately, the combat and art style are good enough. I can recommend Ado to fans of the Metroidvania genre. A lot of love went into this game, and it's definitely worth the price of admission. Aki, what are your thoughts?
Okay, first I will correct a bit of that. Horror stated that they didn't have health bars. You can actually turn that on in
I was going to say, that is an accessibility option. Normally, they don't have health bars, though. So,
also, fair warning for everyone out there, if literally anything visual can give you seizures, don't play this game. It's not safe. Between attacks, flashing, and you can lower that a lot, but it still happens, to fast traveling, flashing the screen bright real quick, to just everything in it being as about as bright as humanly possible in whatever color they've chosen for that background. Just not super safe for you. Otherwise, it's pretty fun to play. It's kind of difficult. There's an achievement for getting through that game in 2 hours. I think it took me like 13 hours to beat the first time.
Oh,
I have no idea how the fuck anyone's going to beat this in 2 hours. That's obscene. This isn't going to be an easy completion for any of you people who are like, just tell us if it's an easy 100%. It's not. It's really not. You have to beat it on basically every difficulty, and then there's an achievement for beating it in a one-hit mode, which is you die in one hit. Not everything dies in one hit. No, just you, because fuck you. So, misery. Otherwise, it is.
Let's see. What are some of these good ones here? Beat Ado on one-hit difficulty. Beat Ado without collecting a rune. Beat Ado without obtaining the dodge ability. Beat Ado without collecting talismans, coins, runes, or extra magic. Beat it in under 2 hours. There's some tough ones in this game. To be fair, there's a lot of basic, like, small 5-10 pointers that are going to pop through your entire play session. So it's constantly drip feeding you achievements, which I like.
Yeah, basically as stated, this game is basically already a boss rush, so I don't know why they have a boss rush mode that's unlocked, because there's no basic enemy in this game, realistically. You go from boss fight to boss fight. After you beat a boss, a weaker version of them starts appearing in different areas all around the map, always in the same areas, and you can literally just run past them. They won't chase you from screen to screen or anything. So this is already basically a boss rush. So I really feel like I'm not saying that word right. So yeah, I don't know why that's unlocked. You get a lot of customization options for how your character looks and stuff that is unlocked after you beat it, which is a nice little cutesy thing. The story, again, no words at all, and it still tells you a somewhat coherent story. If it weren't for the fact that the devs actually tell you a whole bunch of stuff in, like, the description, I wouldn't have quite known all of that. But it's still pretty coherent. So that's pretty nice. And the action and combat's really good, especially if you're playing on the easiest difficulty like I did, because of course I did. The fights are pretty nice. I can't even fathom what they're going to be like on the harder difficulties, let alone the one hit. I know I'm never going to get that, but like even the harder difficulties, you really have to learn how to fight these enemies. Thankfully, they do have some tells. I can't react fast enough to do anything with that, but I think most people are going to be able to if they just play through a boss fight once or twice. I think they're going to have this down pretty pat. So I don't think it's going to be too bad until you get to, like, beat it in under 2 hours, beat it without picking up any fucking thing like a psychopath. Stuff like that might still be hard, but I think even beating it on its generally the harder difficulties, I don't think many people are going to have too much trouble with as long as they've played through it once or twice beforehand.
Yeah.
Achievements are set for basically kill one of the enemies. There you go. You just got an achievement. Basically every boss has one. Which is really nice. It makes you feel a little accomplished, and then it makes you realize, oh shit, where are these last two assholes? There is no area on this map that isn't marked off. I can't find them, which is where I'm at right now. I've beaten the game, and I have no idea where these last couple of enemies are, and I'm like, you sons of bitches. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was not safe for me to play at all, but it was fun. I did enjoy it.
I appreciate your service. It was $15. What are your thoughts on?
I think for most people, I think it's going to be at least to try it, if not an outright buy it. I thought it was a cute little fun game.
Very good. All right, next up, Retro Mystery Club Volume 2, The Beppu Case, developed by Happymeal and Undercoders, published by Shinyuden, released April 4th on Switch and Steam for $9.90. The stage is set in Beppu, Oita Prefecture, the latest installment in the Retro Mystery series. There, hearts that pass each other by can't help but grow twisted. Uncover the truth behind a mysterious death with your junior detective Ken. Chris, what is going on in Retro Mystery Club Volume 2, The Beppu Case?
Well, for one, I mean, since Ken is also the junior detective in the original game, I mean, you'd think he would have, like, moved up in the world or something, right? Like, you already solved, like, several murders together. But anyway, yeah, so this is the sequel of sorts to the first Retro Mystery Club Volume 1, I forgot the name of the place, the EXE-CREATE case. So, yeah, basically these are adventure games, but instead of being like a point and click or something like that, they're very much based on the Portopia serial murder case, which is a great piece of gaming history if you're interested in gaming history, because those were these it was a Japanese computer mystery game that was written by Yuji Horii, who you may recognize as the writer for Dragon Quest, or the person who made Dragon Quest essentially, along with two other guys who are sadly dead. Yeah, so the thing about Portopia Mystery is that, Portopia Serial Murder Case, is that instead of using parser interface in order to go through the game, which is to say typing like the word talk or typing the word get or something like that, and then, you know, kind of working through the game not understanding what you're typing in order to like do anything. They figured out to basically put everything on a menu so that you can choose to talk to someone. You can choose to grab a thing. They made a menu base for that game, and this is all the way back in like the early 80s. And that actually was the inspiration for Dragon Quest, because it is an RPG for consoles that used a menu instead of using the interface that they had back then. So, the Portopia Serial Murder Case is essentially the progenitor of, like, you know, modern, all like console JRPGs. Fantastic piece of history. So these games are very much fashioned after those, in that it sets up a scene. You get to, you know, see the graphics, the character you're talking to, whatever, text box underneath, and on the right is your list of menu options. And so progress in the game is made by choosing the right options and going with what makes sense. In this game, it's like change location if you want to go to a different place, or, you know, talk if you want to talk to Ken, who is basically he's like your avatar, really. He's a junior detective, but your character has no lines and does not appear in the game. Ken is very much the eyes and ears of the adventure, and of course he talks like he's basically a puppy dog, and so he talks constantly about things, and so for that reason he's your source for like having things described, because apparently your character has no inner monologue whatsoever. So that's kind of nice. And so that was how the last game went as well. Basically, you just kind of choose stuff from the menu, whatever makes sense, and then choosing the right thing will cause something else to happen, in which you make progress until you're finally done, and then you can move on to the next part. So this game is like the last game. Like I said, it's the same two characters, your unnamed detective that you are, and Ken. And they are now on a new adventure, because the game actually, really interestingly, this time starts off with a completely unrelated case where you're chasing down a criminal, and the game introduces some new things that happen. One of which is a cursor. So, Zaz, the thing we've had since, you know, there have been computer OSs that could support them. You know, but anyways, Yeah, so occasionally now in this Volume 2 game, if the scene calls for it, you will now have control over a cursor where you can actually point at specific things and interact with them in different ways. So that's how the game opens, is that you're investigating the site of a stolen car, which eventually leads you to a criminal who then engages you in a fight. So now you can fight. The way that you fight is by pointing the cursor in the right area and, attacking him in the kneecaps or whatever. Yes, the groin is a interactable area. So once that happens, that sets the events in motion because you get back, after making the arrest, case is solved. Chief brings you into the office to yell at you, which is fantastic. The last game did not have the buddy cop trope of the police chief getting on your case. In this case, it is your fault because you went way out of your jurisdiction to make the arrest, which is not cool for cops, I guess, because, cops have territories or whatever. And of course, then then Ken and the detective get fired. No, I'm just kidding. It's the police. They never get fired. They actually make a special extended investigation division of which you are the only 2 members. So you basically get a job built around the fact that you are going to go out of jurisdiction and do copping. So that then takes you to the town Beppu, where you're basically placed as security for an art show. And you get to know the artist, the characters around the artist, and then crimes happen, and you must investigate them. I will not give away any details because that's the whole point of the game, is to, go through the dialogue, talk to people, learn about things, really take in the environment, which is, again, all presented in loving 8-bit sprite art, and then kind of figure out where to go from there and what to do. Like I said, the cursor comes into play because now for certain scenes you can point at things. You do have a couple other little things, like the last game had you basically kind of asking questions or investigating the location until, like I said, something happens. But in this one, you now have like a talk button, which is specific for Ken, so that you can kind of get Ken's assessment of the situation, and he kind of can guide you a little bit more in this game. This game flows a little bit better than the first game because things seem a little bit more natural. It's not just scrolling through the different options. Maybe if I show my police badge to this person 10 times, they'll tell me what I want to know. That kind of stuff is a little more absent in this one. It's more kind of fleshed out in the writing. You really get to know characters a little bit better, which is kind of nice because that was a big strength of the previous game. And I played all the way through the first game. I have not played all the way through this one, but I anticipate that it will probably have a few surprise gameplay twists like the first game did. So they really like to play around with the, seemingly limited format of, just changing locations, talking to people, showing them your police badge, and, using your inventory or your phone and whatnot. Also, one little extra bonus. Okay, so you have the option to use phone, right? That's where you can do a search engine if you need to look up something on the internet, which of course, if you don't need to look up something, then the game will tell you should try solving this case on your own instead of looking on the internet. And then it's like, once it calls for it, they're like, oh, we better look this up on the internet. And of course you can use your phone to make calls. I know it's weird. But in the last game, you had a camera option, which you only used if you came across like a victim of crime, and then you would use the phone for like evidence. In this one, you can actually take a little picture of just about any scene. So Ken has lightened up a lot on letting you use your phone's camera. And then you can actually look at the photos too, and then it gives you a little description of what you're looking at. So that's actually kind of a cute thing. They're optional, I think. I don't know if they're required at any point. But I just like that you can now use your phone camera, take pictures of Ken, your cute little partner, in any place that you want to. Although there is an option for game, and you still can't use it. You could never use it. I know. You could never use it in the first game. Ken would always say, "This is no time for video games," or something like that. And nowadays, it's the same thing. It's like, but it's funny because like when he when he's like chiding you for choosing to play a game, and like, you know, and it's great when you first come upon a crime scene and then choose to play a game. Like it creates some like nice jokes because usually his chiding is context specific. So he's like, you know, if you're looking at the view of something so you can get some information, and then you go to play a game, he's like, you should be looking at the views, not trying to play a game, you know, all this stuff. Anyway, super charming game. It's going to be very familiar to folks who played the last one or who have played like classic, you know, Portopia serial murder case like menu-based point-and-click adventures. A rare breed, but they are out there, especially since that game never came to the US, except as a really crappy AI experiment from Square Enix, but we won't talk about that.
Fair.
Yeah, that's a bomb from... What?
I'm going to talk about it someday, so I hope we get the chance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to review it or anything, but yeah, last year Square decided to use the Portopia serial murder case, like, mystery as an AI-generated, like, experience, and it is not going over well. But anyway, but that has nothing to do with this game. If you enjoyed that kind of adventure game, or just enjoy adventure games that aren't too hard and don't require a ton of like pixel hunting, although they have introduced some pixel hunting, this is a great experience for you. And like I said, I love the writing. Music's great. The 8-bit graphics look really nice. Like I said, they only take up 25% of the screen, but that's, of course, completely normal. And you just gotta love Ken. Ken is he's a humdinger. What a great Ken. Little guy. He's just a little guy. Ken.
He's just a bud.
Yeah.
The Beppu case runs $10. What are your thoughts?
Heck yeah, I say go ahead and buy this one. These guys really know their stuff in terms of making these games fun and engaging, despite the technical limitations. In fact, maybe even because of the technical limitations. This one is just as much worth your schmeckles, as they say, than as the first one. Has my endorsement. Go ahead and get it.
Cool.
Can I ask a silly question before we move on? What is pixel hunting? I should know this.
Oh, so pixel hunting is something that occurs a lot in point-and-click adventure games, especially the old like Sierra like type of things, or even Lucas games. It's where because you're pointing and clicking at stuff, but you have to like click at the exact right pixel to get something to happen.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Discworld games are a prime example of this. There's the pixel hunting in that is so apparent that there's even a weird Easter egg that will happen if you can point and click in the exact 8 right pixels at the in order. It's crazy. I'll link you to it. It's pretty funny.
Oh,
wow.
You.
But yeah, that's what we mean by pixel hunting.
Thank you.
Well, we got one final game to talk about tonight. That is called Bit Dungeon Plus, developed by Kinto Games, published by Dolores Entertainment. This one is releasing April 19th on the PS5. Don't have the price in stone yet, but the PS4 price is $6.99. The Switch price is $8.99. You figure it's somewhere in the middle there. You and your beloved friend were captured by demons. You wake up what seems like hours, maybe even days later, trapped in a prison cell, and your friend is missing. You find a sword in your cell and vow revenge against the beasts who took your friend. The quest to find your friend, one, and destroy the demons begins. Pernell, tell us about your time with Bit Dungeon Plus.
Well, you just told me all about Plus because maybe I missed, but I didn't know there was a plot. I'm just killing things. So the best way to describe Bit Dungeon Plus is to basically say it's like someone said, I like Zelda dungeons, even though I don't necessarily need the dungeon tools. I want to make classic Zelda dungeons. Let's make a game about it. Because what this game boils down to is you are a knight exploring dungeons in the Zelda 1 fashion with connected rooms by doors in the cardinal directions. And what happens is you go from room to room exploring a dungeon until you eventually find a boss and kill it. The way they do it primarily is you will start out in a room. The room will have monsters that are attacking you in it. You have a series of attacks, which I'll go into shortly. When you defeat all the enemies in a room, a key will fall from the sky, allowing you to open one door. Every door in this dungeon is locked and requires a key. But once you unlock a door, it's permanently unlocked, so you can go back and forth as you please. Sometimes you'll also find enemies that drop treasure chests, or you might find treasure chests hidden on the ground, which lead to potential upgrades or downgrades of your stats depending on the equipment. And it comes in the form of like armor, helmets, weapons, shields, and accessory items. There are quite a few stats to keep track of in this game too, but nothing that's too overbearing. It's just, hey, I like having my chop stat, not so much my magic proc stat. So just don't sweat it too much and you'll be fine. So you'll basically go from room to room killing things. And the way you do kill things is by a pretty basic but still sound kit. You have an attack button, which when you press it, you'll swing your melee weapon in whatever direction you're facing. You can hold that weapon down to do a charge attack. While your charge attack is charged up and active, you are able to run around at an increased rate of speed. When you use your charge attack, you'll do a sped attack a la Zelda's Whirlwind Blade. I know the guy's name is Link, but the games are Zelda. All right, just covering it. So you do your Whirlwind attack, which does extra damage and also kind of hits around you a little bit, and then you'll be back to normal speed, free to charge your weapon again. There's also a magic ability where you start out with one, but as you beat boss, you can unlock more magic abilities by just holding down the magic button. It eventually triggers, and the magic skills come in a variety of different effects, such as maybe projectiles surrounding you or nodes surrounding you and spinning that do damage when enemies connect with them. Sometimes your magic spell could pretty much temporarily daze an enemy, and it even works on bosses sometimes. And they all drain an MP meter when you decide to use them. When you defeat enemies or find objects, sometimes you might find little black crystals. Those black crystals can be used in shops that you really don't get to choose when you see. They just sometimes show up like a Zelda, like a wall being bursted by a bomb after you clear a room. And if you walk into that room, the shop will be there selling you items that might be potentially better than you'd find walking around the dungeon. However, one thing I find kind of annoying about this feature is that once you go into the shop, you leave and it's gone. So you can't go back in. Even though it shows up on the map as this room that's not connected to the maze by any doors, you can't get back in there. So have them help you if you find the shop at a point where you have no money, maybe because it's too early in your run, because then guess what? You just kind of wasted a shop. Is that door open? And by ignoring it and coming back, I don't know, because I was too afraid it would be going. So I always checked it immediately, and it was going. Funny how that works. But yeah, that's one thing I kind of found a little annoying, is the fact that you see that happens, like, oh crap, I guess there goes my secret room. But the funny part about this game, and one thing I should mention too before I talk about the funny thing about this game, is that you would think, okay, well, I'll just go from room to room, clearing things out, and if I need to go back and get something, maybe in a different direction than I went, I'll just go back. Well, there's nothing wrong with that per se. However, there is something about this game that's not like other games of this ilk, which is when you go back to previously explored rooms, no matter what room that is, monsters will be eating the corpses of the monsters you killed when you were there originally. And when those monsters see you, they will attack you too. And they're jerk bags. They also have a habit of having a stupid counterattack when you go to attack them, where they just fire a wave at you. And while you do have a shield button to block attacks, ability that I forgot to mention earlier in the review, it's still kind of annoying that they can do that. And they're always there. One nice perk when you do fight them, though, is that they seem to be more likely to drop money than I've noticed regular monsters do. And in addition to that, same can be applied for health. Like they sometimes will drop health or magic potions too. And even more still, once in the blue moon, in those rooms, you might find a ghost that's kind of floating, prepping to disappear. If you can catch that ghost and whack it before it disappears, I generally seem to always get health when that happens. So that's a good thing too. And it's a good way to kind of grind for health before you eventually fight the area boss. When you beat the area boss, you get the ability to potentially change your magic spell for the next section of the game in hopes of having a good run in that manner. The funny part is I pretty much described the entire game just now with that. And you might be thinking, well, geez, if you put it that way, Pernell, did you just like the game? Sounds like you found it pretty boring. And yeah, I totally found it boring. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I didn't find the game boring. It wasn't anything excessively grand per se, but I had fun playing. I mean, it does very specific and few things, but it does those specific and few things right in a way that is still pretty fun. I like going from interconnected room to interconnected room, beating things up. I like seeing bosses with large health meters that I can then whack down their health. And I do like comparing stats on equipment when I see it. So, frankly, the game does a good job. Do you feel like you'd get bored in the sense that you're going through like these randomly generated rectangular dungeon rooms? and you're not getting any actual like dungeon equipment, and it's just random equipment, well, then this game ain't for you. But if you're okay with like a little quick romp where you're just kind of dusting off your controller just to dust off a few enemies and then dust off a few dollars and dust off a few pints, well, then hey, boom, Bit Dungeon Plus could be the game for you to dust off a few pints yourself while you play.
Oh, well, should people dust off $7 for it?
I think it's good. A genuine try it. Like I said, it does the things right, but I just want you to hear one more time that this is not Zelda. It's a game with Zelda-esque dungeon layouts without the dungeon items. But it's fun. So I think it's worth a try.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, show's over. Good night, everyone. Recording's over.
Night.
Big thanks to all y'all for being here, hanging out. Big thanks to Bree for coming on, doing her thing. Big thanks to Aki for coming on. Hopefully she's feeling better. She wasn't feeling the best, so hopefully she's doing okay. Big thanks to Horror Acolyte for writing in his review, and massive thanks to Benni from ByteRockers for coming on, chatting with us in the first half hour, 40 minutes of the show. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a good chat, good game. It's on Steam now. It's $20. Give it a go. It's called BeatSlayer. Music. We're going to play some more music from BeatSlayer. So,
Yay. And big thanks for Pernell for saying the word jerk bags in his final review. I wish I hadn't been muted because I cackled so hard. You're like, you did like the perfect pause, and then you're like, because the jerk bags, and you just kept going. I was like, I gotta call you out for that. That was awesome.
I am happy that you're on the show. You're a great person in general. And
I'm happy you're all on this show. I think we're a good show lineup. I think so. We're a decent gaggle of podcasters.
Darn it. I think we're all right.
Just slap my knee over here. So true.
Oh, man. All right. That is it for tonight. Enjoy the music. Does anyone have any final words to end the show?
If you have 8 hours of sleep in your window, do not discredit that shit. Get it, because you're going to miss it when it is going.
Get it. I wanted to close the show, if I could, with one of my favorite quotes from 30 Rock that is about slapping. Tracy Jordan holds up his hand and he says, Liz Lemon, don't mess with me, or I'm about to show you the back of my hand. And then they zoom in and he has written on his hand, please be nice to me.
I love that gag.
And I kept thinking that when I was playing the slapping game. That's like a 10-year-old memory. Oh, so freaking
Don't make me show you the back of my hand. Yeah, that's a perfect gag.
Oh, man.
Now I want somebody to do the freaking horrible Archie Bunker, but actually fix it. One of these days, Alice, bang, zoom, right to the moon.
Right to the
I got tickets to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We're going to go to Rocky.
I like to think that that's what the To the Moon game is about, probably.
That wasn't Archie Bunker. That was the Honeymooners. That was Jackie Gleason.
I'm sleepy, but thank you for doing that for me. I'm fucking tired. But you're so right. What was the Archie Bunkers thing now? Oh, come on, Edith.
It's just being a racist, basically.
There it is. That'll do it.
It's true, though. Oh, my God.